Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
It's Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. It's Faith On with another episode of The Swamp. The House Oversight Committee just passed a resolution holding Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusing to appear for questioning over the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And President Trump officially signs an executive order banning institutional investors from purchasing single-family homes. Hopefully that begins chipping away at hyperinflated housing prices. President Trump announced a formal framework that was made with regard to Greenland, and the enhanced tariffs against several European countries due to take effect on February 1st is now off the table. And today, President Trump made his visit to Davos, where he spoke at the World Economic Forum, where he spoke on a number of issues, including Greenland, Venezuela, Iran, Ukraine, the reconstruction of Gaza, and domestic American affairs, as well as engaging with a number of world leaders during the event and speaking with the press throughout the day. Democrats continued their onslaught of anti-law enforcement propaganda, while federal agents keep pursuing the worst criminal illegal immigrants across the country. And during today's House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing, Chairman Brian Mast announced a bill he is proposing which will keep advanced AI chips out of the hands of China and potentially other nations allied with the CCP. And Rep. Pete Starbird's bill, H.J. Resolution 140, was passed in the House today, which will reopen mining for critical minerals in northern Minnesota after Biden locked up that region during his presidency. And there's a lot more that happened today, so we're going to dive straight in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like if you get a second, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates. And if you leave a comment below, I just might read it on tomorrow's episode or maybe even on Friday's episode. And every article you'll see in this video will be linked below in the description. And we're going to start right here with Oversight Committee. The oversight holds the Clintons in contempt of Congress for defying lawful subpoenas. Chairman Rep. James Comer, quote, "Today was a big day for accountability. We had a bipartisan vote to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress. This shows that no one is above the law." I knew this was coming. I called this months ago on The Swamp. I absolutely knew it was going to happen. I knew that Bill or Hillary Clinton were not going to show up to answer questions with regard to Epstein. And I think that their silence more than just speaks volumes. It just goes to show how deeply in cahoots with Jeffrey Epstein they truly are. Didn't Jeffrey Epstein have a painting of Bill Clinton dressed in a blue dress lounging on his couch? I seem to remember something regarding that coming up in the news at some point, not recently, but it was a while ago, but still doesn't mean it didn't happen. So let's take a look at this.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Today was a big day for accountability. I'm very proud of the work the Oversight Committee has done thus far on the Epstein investigation. I'm very happy that we had a bipartisan vote today to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress, and this shows that no one's above the law, and I'm just real proud of the committee and look forward to hopefully getting the Epstein documents in very quickly and trying to get answers for the American people. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Get the documents. Get them all. You hear them, DOJ? You hear them, FBI? Release all the documents. I don't care how many millions that there are. They're supposed to release them back on December the 19th, and they still haven't released all the documents. I heard even from a source, not a personal source, but some source here on the X platform, that is something like only 1% of all of Epstein's documents have been completely released to the public, which is absolutely insane. So they're supposed to be releasing them in batches or in tranches, as they like to put it. And so far, I haven't heard anything. Maybe I'll check up on that here in a minute, maybe after we get through this, the next couple of posts with regard to the Clintons. From Gary Palmer, "Today I voted to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress. As Hillary said herself, no one is above the law. By defying their subpoenas, they have made it clear that they see themselves as an exception. GOP oversight is committed to holding them accountable." And this is from the Oversight Committee. Breaking: House Oversight passes bipartisan resolutions holding Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress for defying congressional subpoenas on the Epstein probe. Accountability is here. No one is above the law. The resolutions are now sent to the House, and we'll see how the process plays out. So let's take a look at this.
The question is now on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to the William J. Clinton contempt report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment in the nature of a substitute to the report is agreed to.
Well, how about that? Has there ever been a former president of the United States who's been found in contempt of Congress? Maybe there has. Look, we've had a lot of presidents. We've had technically 45 presidents because, no, actually, have we? Yeah, I think we've, no. Let me think. I'm trying to think. Yeah, 45, 45, right? I'm pretty sure it's 45. I know Grover Cleveland, he was one of the other presidents that served 2 non-consecutive terms. And then there was obviously President Trump. So those are the only 2 that served non-consecutive terms because Trump was 45 and 47. And Grover Cleveland was like in like the low 20s, like 21st or 22nd, something like that. But he served 2 non-consecutive terms. So I'm gonna hold firm on 45 presidents. Pretty sure there's 45, even though there's like President Trump is currently the 47th. But I believe individually we've had 45 presidents. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I mean, I can't believe I actually had to think about that.
The question is now on favorably reporting the William J. Clinton contempt report as amended. Members will record their votes using the electronic voting system. The clerk
wait. Did he say contempt of court or contempt of Congress?
The question is now on favorably reporting the William J. Clinton contempt report as amended.
Oh, report.
Members will record their votes using the electronic voting system.
All right, got it.
The clerk will now open the vote
wait a minute, this ain't a
on
court.
the William J. Clinton contempt report.
Report. Okay, got it. All right, I got it. All right, now I'm on the same page. Okay. Favorably reporting the William J. Clinton contempt report as amended. A lot of yeses. The yeses are green. The noes are red.
Have all members been recorded who wish to be? Okay, we're waiting on one more.
Wait, Rashida Tlaib voted yes?
Does any member wish to change their vote?
What?
The clerk will close the vote and report the vote total.
Yo, dude. I didn't even, hold on. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see, Sessions, Donalds. Yeah, I know Byron Donalds. Ana Paulino Luna. Okay, I'm just having a look here. I mean, maybe that's a different Tlaib. Probably is.
Has everybody voted now? Yes. Okay.
No, see, Presley, she's a Democrat.
To change their vote? The clerk will close the vote and report the vote total.
Well, it seemed to make sense. They're all about releasing the Epstein files, right?
The ayes are 34, the nays are 8, with 2 voting present.
Well, that's kind of overwhelming now, isn't it?
Pursuant to this, the ayes have it. Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find William J. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with the subpoena duly issued by this committee. We will move to the report to the full House. Without objection, the motion to consider is laid upon the table.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to House Rule 9, Clause 2.1, I just ask that members have the requisite 2 days to file with the clerk of the committee supplemental, additional, and minority and dissenting views.
Without objection. Thank you. Without objection.
Dissenting views, such as what? He didn't do anything
is now
wrong.
Favorably reporting the Hillary R. Clinton contempt.
How
report
dare
as
you?
Amended.
He's
Members
a former
will
Democrat
record their
president.
votes using the electronic voting
light
system.
years above
the
the
clerk
law.
will now open the vote on the Hillary R. Clinton contempt report.
Well, let's see. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for those who voted yes for Bill Clinton to vote no for Hillary, but I'm sure stranger things have happened. I mean, that's Jasmine Crockett, right? And that's Ayanna Presley.
Have all members
that's Rashida
been recorded
Tlaib.
who wish to be
Oh,
recorded?
see, she voted no.
Does any member wish?
Why?
To change
Why would you
their
vote
vote?
no for that?
Seeing none, the clerk will close the vote
That
and
doesn't
report
make
the
much
vote
sense
total.
to me. They were subpoenaed to give testimony. They're clearly in
Mr.
violation.
Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 28, the nays are 15, with 1 voting present.
The
All
ayes
right,
have
whatever.
it. Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by this committee. We will move the report to the full House. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Well, why would they throw Bill Clinton under the bus but not Hillary Clinton? It doesn't really make sense to me because I'm sure Hillary Clinton was just as involved as her husband. I'm sure. But what do I know? So anyway, that happened today, man. Happened 4 hours ago. That's when this was posted. Well, 5 hours ago, actually, on GOP oversight. So here's another one. Oversight Committee. Breaking Chairman Comer slams Democrats during our markup to hold Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt. And Rep. James Comer gives a comment or a quote, so we'll just hear him say it. It's a bit long, but we can get through it.
House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform meets to advance 2 resolutions recommending that the House of Representatives find former President.
Look at that. So Ranking Member Garcia, he had to stand by it because they got right up there on the board. Defying a congressional subpoena is highly illegal with his signature. Ranking Member Garcia, who's a Democrat. And that was just on September 5th of last year.
Bill Clinton and former Secretary of
Would make a lot of sense if you voted no, now would it?
In contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with duly issued subpoenas. The committee does not take this action lightly. But subpoenas are not mere suggestions. They carry the force of law and require compliance. Former President Clinton and Secretary Clinton were legally required to appear for depositions before this committee.
Yeah. Is anybody surprised they didn't show up? They kept stonewalling. They kept getting continuance after continuance.
And I quote,
this is supposed to happen back in September.
Subpoena is highly illegal.
Maybe October, but no later than October.
And I quote,
like literally months ago.
Actions have consequences. 6 months ago, Republicans and Democrats on the House Oversight Committee's Federal Law Enforcement Subcommittee unanimously approved deposition subpoenas for the Clintons by voice vote as part of our investigation into the federal government's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell criminal cases. More than 5 months ago, I issued those bipartisan subpoenas.
Yep, they kept putting it off,
Clinton's testimony is critical to understanding Epstein's sex trafficking network and the ways he sought to curry favor and influence to shield himself from scrutiny.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, come to think of it, what did Bill Clinton do as his capacity as president back in the 90s with regard to Jeffrey Epstein? Like, what was Jeffrey Epstein maybe or allegedly doing back then, and how much of it did Bill Clinton know about? And like, did he use his authority as president in any way, shape, or form to shield Jeffrey Epstein? I think that'd be worth hearing about.
Testimony
not that we're going to hear anything out of this testimony. It's all going to be behind closed doors.
Human trafficking. Since issuing the subpoenas, this committee has acted in good faith. We've offered...
You know what? Actually, that would stand to argue that any testimony that Bill and Hillary Clinton would give to the committee would have to be subject to release to the public, right? Because that would fall under the Epstein files. I mean, it's directly related to Jeffrey Epstein. Why wouldn't all of that be made public? Because, okay, fine, they can redact the names of the victims if they give out any victims' names. But anything and everything else that Bill and Hillary Clinton say behind closed doors should absolutely be made public, 100%. So since we've already got that Epstein Transparency Act, or whatever they called it, that was passed back on November the 19th, I believe that this thing should be wide open. It should be out in the middle of out in the open for all of us to see. Live recorded, because why wouldn't it be? They got it, by law now. I mean, the Epstein Transparency Act, by law, they have to make that all public now.
Flexibility on scheduling. The response we received was not cooperation, but defiance, marked by repeated delays, excuses, and obstruction. The Clintons claim they have been treated unfairly because this committee accepted written statements under penalty of perjury from former U.S. Attorneys General Holder, Lynch, Sessions, and Garland, as well as former FBI Director Comey.
So what? Yeah, that was that directly related to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, though? I mean, was FBI Director James Comey flying to Epstein Island as regularly as Bill Clinton was?
Those written statements were accepted because none of those officials recalled information relevant to the Epstein investigation.
There you go.
Nor did
Nothing
they
to do
have
with it.
Personal relationships with Epstein.
There you go again.
By contrast, the committee required in-person testimony from former U.S. Attorney General Barr and former U.S. Secretary of Labor and U.S. Attorney Acosta, both Republicans,
of course,
because they possessed information directly relevant to the investigation. The Clintons are in a fundamentally different category. They had documented relationships with Epstein and Maxwell, evidenced by numerous photographs, flight log records, wedding invitations, and other materials.
Where's all the images of all the Republicans involved with Jeffrey Epstein? All of these images like this is kind of damning. It would seem, sitting in Jeffrey Epstein's freaking hot tub, Bill Clinton, which I don't know if that, maybe not when he was president, but I don't know, maybe. I mean, he kind of had the silver hair thing going on back in the 90s.
These photos can be seen here. We
I don't
repeatedly
know, that looks a little
informed
late
the
though. He
Clinton's
looks older.
attorney that
Maybe in the
written
2000s.
statements would not be accepted. The subpoenas required depositions. Federal courts have consistently held that witnesses may not impose their own conditions upon the manner of congressional inquiry. Yet the Clintons attempted to do exactly that.
Yep.
Submitting brief,
Hillary Clinton were president, it would have been a nightmare.
Neither comprehensive nor responsive to the committee's many unanswered questions. No witness, not a former president or a private citizen, may willfully defy a duly issued congressional subpoena without consequence. But that is what the Clintons did, and that is why we are here today. I would expect bipartisan support for enforcing those subpoenas by voting in favor of these resolutions. Unfortunately, it appears that Ranking Member Garcia has chosen to follow marching orders designed to distract from the issue at hand. I hope I'm wrong about this. Over the weekend, Ranking Member Garcia made clear that Democrats intend to divert attention from the Clintons by instead calling for Attorney General Bondi to be held in contempt. The difference is clear. Attorney General Bondi and the Department of Justice are producing documents. While the pace is slower than any of us would prefer and must speed up, I believe that much of the delay involves the Department of Justice trying to take care to redact victims' personal information. By contrast, the Clintons have flatly refused to appear at all, despite repeated warnings that the committee would move forward with contempt proceedings. Today, the Clintons must be held accountable for their actions, and Democrats must support these measures or they will be exposed as hypocrites. We must do what is necessary to uphold Congress's investigative authority, which is imperative to the legislative process. And we are doing so to demonstrate to the American people that justice is applied equally to everyone, regardless of position, pedigree, or prestige.
Yep, that's the way it should be. There's no two-tier justice system, but I mean, come on, man. We all know there is. There is to some extent. It's just how far is Congress or law enforcement, the DOJ, FBI, how far are they willing to go in order to drag them down to the level of justice where they ought to be? All right, so I'm going to ask this question to Grok. How many members of the Republican Party were found in Jeffrey Epstein's collection of photographs released to the public? I'm just curious. I mean, maybe there's some. The publicly released photographs for Jeffrey Epstein's estate, primarily batches released by House Democrats in December 2025, drawn from 95,000 images obtained via congressional oversight and later DOJ release, prominently featured Donald Trump, a Republican in multiple images, some previously known, and Steve Bannon, former Trump advisor, Republican-aligned figure. Now, to be fair, those images of Donald Trump were stuffed in a desk drawer. Not sure if they were strategically placed there. I pointed that out a few weeks ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, when that first broke into the news, and how I don't know, suspicious in my own personal opinion that really was Steve Bannon. Okay, I wasn't familiar with that. No comprehensive verified count exists of members of the Republican Party or elected officials, former party affiliates specifically identified in these photos beyond those two notable cases. Releases emphasize high-profile figures across parties, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, with no evidence of widespread Republican politicians depicted. Look, I tried to frame it so not only Republican politicians. I'm looking for just anybody who is a member of the Republican Party. That could be any Tom, Dick, and Harry, whoever, whether if they're famous or otherwise. But anyway, so being in photos does not imply wrongdoing, and many images show social or incidental associations. Sources describe selective releases, 69 or 68 photos and key drops, partisan framing, Democrats releasing some, Republicans criticizing as cherry-picked, but no tally specifies the number of Republican Party members beyond the prominent examples noted. Older Epstein-related documents, flight logs, Black Book, court files mention Trump and a few others with loose GOP ties, but not a large number of active Republican politicians in photos. Okay. All right, well, now let's try with Democrats. Let's see if we can get any vague or straight answer out of that. So the publicly released photographs from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, let's see, from 95,000 images, prominently feature Bill Clinton in multiple images, some signed or with Epstein and Maxwell, as well as Bill Gates, major Democratic donor and associates, and others like Larry Summers. Let's see. Well, and others, like who are the others? Others. All right, so while it's doing that, let's see if it's got anything else. Trump, Bannon, okay, sources describe, partisan framing. No count specifies a large number of Democratic Party members beyond the prominent examples noted. Because, look, I'm sure the mainstream media dug through each and every single image. They had just teams of people just working 24/7, just digging through every single one of those images, and I'm sure there's plenty more to come once the DOJ finally gets around to releasing them all. And so there's no doubt that the mainstream news went through all of them. However, if they found like dozens of Democrat or Democrat affiliated individuals, of course, they're not going to share all that information. Like, okay, well, we found 2 Republican aligned individuals, but we found like 56 Democrats. I'm just pulling that number out of thin air. I'm not suggesting that there's that many. So anyway, the others in the estate photographs, let's see, high profile figures who appear alongside. Context with Epstein, Gillian Maxwell related. Let's see. These are drawn from consistent. Okay. Prominent Democrat-leaning or associated individuals beyond Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Larry Summers, Noam Chomsky, linguist, activist, and intellectual, appears in the later batch. Other mentions in broader context, social gatherings, sometimes tied to figures like Woody Allen, filmmaker and Democrat supporter, Alan Dershowitz, lawyer, but more cross-party, though not strictly Democrat Party members. Let's see. No sources indicate a large number of current or former elected Democrat Party officials. Okay. Well, all right. David Brooks. Prince Andrew. Trump, Bannon. I mean, like they indicate cross-party figures in that context. So, yeah, David Blaine. So, anyway, yeah, I'm sure if I could probably press further, maybe I could get Grok to pull out a few more names, perhaps, maybe. But, anyway, I don't have all that much time. There is a lot to get through in this episode, as there always is. So we're going to move on to the next topic from the White House. President said it best. Homes are built for people, not for corporations. That's why President Trump signed an executive order to protect the American dream by making sure that large institutional investors do not buy single-family homes that could otherwise be purchased by families. And homes are built for people, not for corporations. And America will not become a nation of renters. That is why I've signed an executive order banning large institutional investors from buying single-family homes. President Donald J. Trump. And I believe that was today, wasn't it? Yeah, that looks like a 1, I think. January 21st, 2026. Pretty sure this happened today. I know I'm like 99.9% sure it didn't happen yesterday because I would have come across it yesterday. All right, so from the White House, thanks to President Trump, the American dream is back. Posted 4 hours ago from the White House. And it looks like they've got an article linked in this post as soon as I can get it clicked. All right, so from Breitbart, take a look at this one. Trump signs order to bar Wall Street firms from buying houses. This is fantastic news. Now, I'm sure any of these Wall Street firms that already own properties, I'm sure this executive order is not going to force them to sell them, which I doubt would be legal. I believe it's just barring them from doing so in the future. President Donald Trump on Tuesday signed an executive order that prohibits Wall Street firms from purchasing single-family homes. So it did happen yesterday, as of this recording. To preserve the supply of single-family homes for American families and increase the path to home ownership, it is the policy of my administration that large institutional investors should not buy single-family homes that could otherwise be purchased by families, Trump wrote in his executive order titled Stopping Wall Street from Competing with Main Street Home Buyers. The order continued, at the same time, a growing share of single-family homes, often concentrated in certain communities, have been purchased by large Wall Street investors, crowding out families seeking to buy homes. Hardworking young families cannot effectively compete for starter homes with Wall Street firms and their vast resources. Neighborhoods and communities once controlled by middle-class American families are now run by faraway corporate interests. People live in homes, not corporations. My administration will take decisive action to stop Wall Street from treating America's neighborhoods like a trading floor and empower American families to own their homes. President Donald Trump has focused on affordability in the new year ahead of the midterm elections alongside other measures to make housing more affordable. The Trump executive order would direct his administration to issue guidance within the next 2 months to impose restrictions on the sale of single-family homes. It also calls for Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to review the rules and guidance relating to institutional buyers acquiring or holding single-family homes and consider revising them. Interesting. The order calls on the Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission to review substantial acquisitions, including series of acquisitions by large institutional investors of single-family homes and local single-family housing markets for anti-competitive effects, and prioritize enforcement of the antitrust laws as appropriate against coordinated vacancy and pricing strategies by large institutional investors and local single-family home rental markets. Dude, this is interesting. Can you say BlackRock or Vanguard? I mean, aren't those? Don't they own like tens of thousands, maybe like 100,000 individual homes? I'm pretty sure they do. Anyway, Wall Street giants, including, there you go, Blackstone, American Homes for Rent, and Progress Residential, bought thousands of single-family homes following the 2008 crisis, snapping up distressed properties and converting them into rentals. New York Post explained. These investors, as of 2022, own around 450,000 homes, or about 3% of all single-family rental homes across the country. In 22 specific U.S. countries, institutional investors own between 5 and 10% of the housing stock. Those counties are concentrated in metro areas, including Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Phoenix, Jacksonville, Charlotte, Tampa, Memphis. The Post reported, in comparison, mom and pop landlords own about 20% of single-family homes. That is crazy, man. I mean, yeah, I doubt that BlackRock or Blackstone, not BlackRock, I meant Blackstone, American Homes and so on. I doubt that they own tons of houses out in rural America. I'm sure those by and large are still owned by everyday families. So, but anyway, this is great news, man. I think this is really good news. So, like digging into antitrust law and, essentially buying up large sections of neighborhoods in their attempt, I guess, to maybe either drive up the price so nobody else can buy them, or maybe drive down the price so people sell. I don't know. I'm sure that they've manipulated a lot of neighborhoods to that effect all across the country. Would not be of any surprise to me at all. So I guess we'll just have to see what comes of that. I think that's fantastic news. Of course, you're not going to see Democrats praising that, although they should be, because they claim to be all about the American worker, and Trump is making the cost of living so bad nobody can afford a home. Well, he just signed an executive order and in a direct attempt to make home ownership cheaper for Americans by squeezing out institutional investors. So what do you have to say about that, Democrats? All right, so from the White House, live from Davos, President Donald J. Trump announces a framework for a future deal with Greenland. You must watch, and watch we shall.
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal...
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark, did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did, because he very much represents, he's a strong leader. Mark, Mark Rutte. And he, I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Are mineral rights involved? Is ownership involved?
Well, sure.
Did the Golden Dome sway people?
I don't want to say yet, but...
The Golden Dome was very compelling today when you talked about that.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome. And they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
You can't...
Well, there you go.
It's
mineral
not
rights.
Specific enough to know at this point how long this lasts, whether it's...
Forever.
Forever.
It'll be forever.
Forever.
For Greenland at this point.
Yeah. Forever.
Forever.
That's
no expiration.
It's better than a 99-year.
This is what, 2 hours after...
It's better than the Obama deal with the famous Iran nuclear deal with a 9-year deal. No, this is forever. This is a long term.
All right, man. Forever, long term. I'm sure that they're absolutely working on critical mineral deals, which is... I mean, look, he says that it's in a geopolitical location, which it is. It's up near the Arctic. and he wants to encompass the Golden Dome to obviously, like Greenland, just its position has to play a part in the construction of the Golden Dome. But of course, I think that the other big player is rare earth minerals, because we're really at a major race against China, because China next November, they're going to be cutting off a large supply of their critical minerals to the whole world. They're going to start imposing volume restrictions on how much that they're supplying to the rest of the world. And that's a problem, because China, 85% of all the critical minerals in the world that is refined in China. So clearly a big problem. So, I mean, like, not only the United States, but there's Australia and other European countries. They're all working overtime to try to figure out how to combat this, because the clock's ticking, man. They're going to have to figure out where to source the minerals from to start mining. I'm sure that mining to some extent is going to be somewhat of a long-term process, or maybe a lot of these critical minerals are close to the surface, and maybe it's just a matter of just getting all the equipment out there and just start digging. I mean, maybe it might, hopefully in some cases it'll be that simple. And look, like Greenland, I mean, how much of Greenland is locked in like, what, a mile thick of ice? I'm just throwing that number out there. I don't know if it's really actually that thick or not, but as far as I know, Greenland it's still got a lot of, like, a pretty giant ice sheet. Like, if the entirety of Greenland were to melt, something like the ocean levels would rise by, like, I don't know, like 10 feet or something like that. I think it's actually a lot more than that. So they say. So the climate change scientists say. But I'm sure that it would still raise the ocean levels to some extent. But anyway, so let's move on to the next thing. The White House, based on a very productive meeting that I have had with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, we have formed the framework for a future deal with respect to Greenland. Here, actually, let me just, I just want to take a look and see if all of it's, okay, thank you for your attention to this. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure, because often the White House, they'll only clip like some of it, and they'll cut out some other points. So I wanted to make sure every word of it was here, of his True Social post. All right, so the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. This solution, if consummated, will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. Based upon this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st. Additional discussions are being held concerning the Golden Dome as it pertains to Greenland. Further information will be made available as discussions progress. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and various others as needed will be responsible for the negotiations. They will report directly to me. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And Marco Rubio puts on yet another hat. He's got another iron in the fire. I don't know how he gets any sleep at all. I mean, he's having to juggle all kinds of stuff, like with the ongoing issue in Iran, and plus like all the protesting that started happening in Iran. I'm sure he had to keep a close watch on that, and also the Israel-Palestine, the rebuilding of the Gaza Strip, and Venezuela, and Ukraine. I'm sure he still has to pay attention to on a regular basis. Yeah, man, I don't know how he does it. I mean, dude's got to be insanely busy. All right, so we're going to move on to President Trump's speech at the World Economic Forum. I tried to combine all of these clips in as much order as I could, so I categorized them based on the talking subject, the subject matter of what he's speaking about. So this one, he's talking about domestic affairs, what's going on in the U.S., how we got a great country, a strong country, America first. And then he goes on, talks about the Board of Peace for a few clips. And then peace in the Middle East. Let's see, Iran is one of them. Venezuela he talks about, and these aren't very long clips. They're like a minute, give or take. The Russia-Ukraine war. So you get the idea. And then there's some more details on Greenland and NATO that he gets into. If I notice that I accidentally grab the same clip twice, I'll just move on to the next one. That's usually how I do it. So anyway, the president at Davos. The USA is the economic engine on the planet, and when America booms, the entire world booms.
Over the past 3 months, core inflation has been just 1.6%. Meanwhile, fourth quarter growth is projected to be 5.4%, far greater than anybody other than myself and a few others had predicted.
Oh, yeah, incredible.
Since the election, the stock
GDP
market
growth
has set 52 all-time high records.
We say 5.4%.
So that's in 1 year, 52 records. Adding $9 trillion in value to retirement accounts, 401ks, and people's savings People are doing very well. They're very happy with me. Since
Well,
my
people invested in silver, they're
inauguration,
doing pretty
we've
well.
lifted more than
Last
1.2
month.
million people off of food stamps, and after 4 years,
And gold, too, of
in
course.
which Biden secured less than $1 trillion of new investment in our country. Think of that, $1 trillion, substantially less than that. In 4 years, we've secured commitments for a record-breaking $18 trillion, and we think when the final numbers come out, they'll be closer to $20 trillion of investment.
Crazy.
That's never been done by any country at any time, not even close. Just over 1 year ago, under the radical left Democrats, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. In fact, the United States economy is on pace to grow at double the rate that was projected by the IMF just last April. And with my growth and tariff policies, it should be much higher. I really believe we can be much higher than that.
Oh, these European leaders hate
This
this.
is all
They absolutely
great
hate
news,
this.
and it's great for all nations.
They want all the
USA
countries
is
to
the
be on
economic
equal footing
engine
to
on
America.
the planet. And when America booms, the entire world booms. It's been the history. When it
They want
goes bad,
socialism
it
for
goes
all.
bad. The whole
Because, you know, climate change, bro.
you all follow us down, and you follow us up, and we're at a point that I don't believe we've ever been. Over the
All right,
past
so before I go to the next clip, I'm just curious to take a look at this. When was the last time that the U.S. had over 5% GDP growth? Maybe it was a few years ago. Maybe it was forever. Okay, so 2021. I'd be curious to know when before COVID, because COVID was kind of a special time, quite a unique period in our history. Wait, all right, hold on. Prior to 2021, U.S. hadn't seen annual growth over 5% since the late 1980s. In 1984, it was around 7.2%, and sustained high growth was more common in earlier post-war decades. So it's certainly not something that happens on an annual basis to be over 5% GDP growth. So if you don't include COVID, which I know it still happened, so you'd still have to include it. It still happened in 2021 regardless. Not trying to take anything away from Biden or anything like that. I'm just saying it was just an interesting time in our history. I think a lot of people would agree to that. So anyway, just even keeping 2021 there. Prior to that was 1984. So still, I mean, it's quite a while, man. It's like, what, 8, 9, 10, 11, like, what, almost 40 years or like 30, was it like 37 years prior? So it's definitely something that only happens once every few decades. All right, so let's head to the next one from the Department of State. So together with confidence, boldness, and persistence, let us lift up our people, grow our economies, defend our shared destiny, and build a future for our citizens that is more ambitious, more exciting, more inspiring, and greater than the world has ever seen. Here we go.
But you're in this room, and some of you are the greatest leaders anywhere in the world. You're the greatest brains anywhere in the world. And the future is unlimited, and to a large part because of you, and we have to protect you, and we have to cherish you. I always say we have to cherish our brilliant people because there aren't many of them. So together with confidence, boldness, and persistence, let us lift up our people, grow our economies, defend our shared destiny, and build a future for our citizens that is more ambitious, more exciting, more inspiring, and greater than the world has ever seen. We're in a position to do things that nobody else has ever even thought of before. And many of the people in this room are the ones that are doing it, and I want to congratulate you, and I'm with you all the way. You can do things that nobody else can even think about.
Yeah, amen, man. All you got to do is just get on the bandwagon. All right, Department of State, we're cutting illegal aliens off welfare and other government benefits, and I have directed that starting immediately, there will be no more payments to sanctuary cities because they are really just sanctuaries for criminals. I think he's probably hinting to places like the UK and France and Germany, you know, where they opened up their floodgates too and just allowed just millions of illegal immigrants, migrants, whatever the hell you want to call them. I don't know if they consider them illegal over there or not. I think by and large they probably don't because they let them in. So, and as far as I know, they're still there. I don't think that there's any big initiative to get them removed. So, just in my opinion, I think this might be Trump's way of kind of signaling to them, you know, like, we're taking care of business over here. Perhaps you should be doing the same over there in Europe.
We're cutting illegal aliens off welfare and other government benefits, and I have directed that starting immediately, There will be no more payments to sanctuary cities because they are really just sanctuaries for criminals. They're really protecting criminals, and those are the ones we have to get out of the country: murderers, drug dealers, the mentally insane. They emptied their mental institutions into the United States. We're cutting illegal aliens off welfare.
All right. I'm going to pose one quick question because I'd like to know how much money that the UK and Germany and France are contributing or spending on welfare of migrants. Just curious. So I don't know if we're going to get any numbers. Yeah, it looks like we will. Asylum support and accommodation costs for the UK were around 4 to 5 billion pounds in recent years. Okay, in recent years. So what? So 4.53 billion on asylum support accommodation in 24 and 25. So that's just 2 years. Hotel costs alone, holy shit. Hotel costs alone were over 2.1 billion pounds in just the 2-year period. That is insane, dude. For 2 billion pounds, like they couldn't build, I don't know, like enormous buildings to house all the people. Instead, they just had to be just shelling out money to hotel rooms. I mean, how big of a hotel could you build for 2 billion? And I'm not talking the 5-star treatment, you know, like gold accented sconces and crown molding. No, none of that shit. Like just your everyday run of the mill comfort inn times 1,000. I'd just be curious to know how many rooms you could build with 2.1 billion pounds. That's insane. All right, Germany, federal costs for refugees and asylum benefits totaled between 29 and 30 billion euros in 2023 alone. Dude, Germany is cooked. That is so much money. All right, well, you know, that's Germany for you. So maybe that's who Trump was kind of winking and nodding over at. So anyway, France, specific annual figures for migrant asylum welfare are less centralized in recent public data. Oh yeah, that's right. Isn't it against the law for France to keep like data and statistics like when it comes to like race-based or migrant or immigrant or ethnic? I don't know. They've got some weird law that France has had for a long time that they don't keep any data or statistics with regard to like demographics of certain people or people in general, really. So, but asylum seeker support, a DA allowance and accommodation is in the low billions of euros. Overall immigration, asylum integration budget is around 1 to 2 billion euros, with medical aid for undocumented around $1 billion. Per refugee. Costs are lower than the UK and Germany in comparative ODA reporting. Yeah, but still, dude, they're spending a retarded amount of money. And is it just going to keep going? Like Germany, that was just 2023. I'd be curious to know what other years they're like what about 2024? What about 2025? But anyway, we got this to get back to. President Trump on his Board of Peace. These are people who have tremendous influence. I think the Board of Peace will be the most prestigious board ever, and it's going to get a lot of work done with the United Nations.
Everybody wants to be on it. But yeah, I have some controversial people on it, but these are people that get the job done.
I thought it was going to be.
That have tremendous influence, and if I put all babies on the board, there wouldn't be very much. So he was invited. He's accepted. Many people have accepted. I think
elevator
I don't know
music.
Anybody that hasn't accepted. But it's going to be great. I think the Board of Peace will be the most prestigious board ever, and it's going to get a lot of work done that the United Nations should have done. And we'll work with the United Nations, but the Board of Peace is going to be special. We're going to have peace. It started off with Gaza, the Middle East. We've got peace in the Middle East, tremendous peace in the Middle East. Nobody thought that was possible, and that happened by
muting my
taking
background
out
music.
the Iran nuclear threat. Without that, it could have never happened. But the board is going to be, I think, really fantastic, and I think it'll be the most prestigious board of any board ever in world history. Thank you very much.
I mean, look, all good points. It was kind of it was a little difficult for me to keep paying attention at it with the background that piano music going. That was not on my end. In fact, I muted my board or my background music just to hear it. Okay, whatever. So anyway, the president on the Board of Peace, we're going to have a lot. We have a lot of great people that want to join. It's going to be the most prestigious board ever formed.
They have committed to being permanent members of the Board of Peace.
Well, we're going to have a lot. We have a lot of great people that want to join. It's going to be the most prestigious board ever formed. The president is a member. We have the major countries, and some need parliamentary approval, but for the most part, everybody wants to be on. I have a little bit of the opposite problem. People want to be on, and we didn't ask them. They want to get on, but we'll look at the country. So we're going to have. I think it's the greatest board ever formed, And we call it the border peace. That's what it is. It's the border peace. And it started on Gaza, and I appreciate what you said on Gaza, because it's true. If we weren't involved, there'd be no peace. It's peace. We have peace in the Middle East.
Egypt's a pretty close ally with regard to Gaza.
You might have Hamas.
Taking care of business over there,
a
man.
little flame here and there, but basically that'll be
You want to see what real borders look like? Look at Egypt's borders.
They'll be
insanely fortified.
They will be very unhappy people. We'll have no choice. They will be eliminated. They made a deal to get at. You have Hezbollah in Lebanon. We have to do something there. They're causing a lot of problems, but those are small. We actually have peace in the Middle East, and the president was very instrumental. He really helped us, one of the most. And we've had great help from a number of countries, but Egypt has been great. The president's been great. And we have peace in the Middle East. It's an amazing thing. Nobody thought we'd ever see that. Now, I would say if we didn't bomb the Iran nuclear plant, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 months.
Yeah, likely. Oh, wow, that quick?
You would not have peace in the Middle East. You wouldn't be able to. Nobody would be able to do that. But that's what gave us peace in the Middle East.
Well, yeah, man, Iran, they've been trying to enrich uranium. Well, they had been enriching uranium for a long time. I remember reading and watching that whole Stuxnet fiasco where some insider, I don't know if he was with the CIA, I think it might have been with the CIA, they plugged in it was a memory stick into a computer while they were in one of those nuclear facilities, and all he had to do was just plug in a flash drive into a computer when nobody was looking, and it released a virus into the system in that nuclear facility, which caused those turbines that were spinning up enriching uranium to spin faster and faster until they all blew up. It was freaking crazy, man. All right, so the president meets with the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Davos. We have a fantastic relationship with Egypt. The relationship's been very strong right from the beginning.
We have a fantastic relationship with Egypt, and the president will call and ask for things, and we always are able to work it out. But the relationship's been very strong right from the beginning, from years ago. So I want to thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, good relationship. Always good to have a good relationship with Egypt, because why not? I mean, hell, Egypt, they're so accommodating. They accommodated freaking aliens, for crying out loud, building the Great Pyramids and, right, whatever. So anyway, so this is the next one. I think we have peace in the Middle East. There are some little situations like Hamas. We're going to know over the next 2 or 3 days, certainly over the next 3 weeks, whether or not they're going to disarm. If they don't do it, they will be blown away very quickly.
I mean, I think we have peace in the Middle East. There are some little situations like Hamas, and Hamas has agreed to give up their weapons. Now, they were born with a weapon in their hand, so it's not easy to do. When they were born, they were born with a rifle in their hand. It's not an easy thing for them, but that's what they agreed to. They've got to do it. And we're going to know, Jared, over the next 2 or 3
Americans and Hamas kind of have something in common.
Days, certainly over the next 3 weeks, whether or not they're going to do it. If they don't do it, they'll be blown away very quickly. They'll be blown away. We have 59 countries that are part of that whole peace deal. And some of those countries aren't even they're near the Middle East, but they're not in the Middle East traditionally. And they want to come in and take out Hamas. They want to come in. They want to do whatever they can. There's a problem with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and we'll see what happens there. But that's a problem. But there are these little flames, but there's peace in the Middle East. I mean, I think.
Yep, certainly are. And yeah, Hamas, they were born with weapons, born with guns. Americans, we were born with weapons, born with guns. But, Hamas, they're all about terrorism. America's about freedom. Okay, rapid response 47. Iran would have had a nuclear weapon long ago, and we hit them hard. They've got to stop with the nuclear. Yes, they do. You hear it, Democrats? Quit trying to give Iran nuclear weapons.
Hang the old-fashioned hang.
I'm telling you, man, they're a bunch of nihilists, dude. They want the whole world to get destroyed. Depopulation.
And I told them, you can't do that. If you do that, it's going to be bad. I don't want to go exactly what I said, but nasty. And they canceled it, hopefully permanently.
But those tariffs are still on, including China. Has China responded to
sanctions?
25% for anyone who does business with Iran, and that will go forward.
Yeah, that's going forward.
That will go forward. There are assets moving into the Gulf, obviously carriers and other things. So a lot of people are wondering whether that's a prelude to further action.
Well, we hope there's not going to be further action, but, they're shooting people indiscriminately in the streets. And they were going to look.
Whoa, no shit. We were sending military assets. We were sending the Navy into the Gulf right outside of Iran because of all the protests and all the unrest happening. From what I read yesterday, a lot of the protesting has largely subsided. Apparently, the regime in Iran has largely taken control of the country
big thing
again.
for me, they were going to hang 837.
They probably
mostly
did
young
anyway.
people.
When you did successfully hit Fordo, you got a lot of grief from the Democrats for doing it. Now, the grief is, oh, you promised to do something in Iran. Now they want you to do, or they're at least finger pointing, saying you said you're going to help
fucking
the
ridiculous,
protesters,
man.
and now you're not. So you can't win.
Well, we had, of course, again, I mean, if I came
He's
up
Orange
with
Man.
the
He
cure
can't
to
win.
cancer, they'd say, why didn't
Not
you
in the
do it
eyes of the
faster?
Democrats.
You walked on water, but you can't swim.
Yeah, they're
No.
sick people. They really are.
Yes, they are. Trump derangement syndrome.
We call it Trump derangement syndrome.
Should we
Trump
stay tuned
derangement
in Iran?
delusions.
I guess that's my question.
I guess. I mean, look, it's a rough place. It's a place that we hit very hard with the nuclear, ending the nuclear. They would have had a nuclear weapon long ago. It's actually already, they would have had a nuclear weapon probably a month after we hit, had we not hit. And we hit them hard, the B-2 bombers. We just ordered 25 additional B-2 bombers. They were unbelievable. Those things they were totally undetectable. They were undetected.
Hell yeah, they are.
And think of it with no moon, in the dark of night, late in the evening.
Yeah, man, B-2
every
bombers.
single one of those bombs, and they're giants, every single one of those bombs hit its targets and just obliterated
Oh, yeah,
the
man,
place.
straight out of the future.
We're going to find
Some
out where
sci-fi
they
stuff
are
that we
now
got in the
about
military.
what they're going to do with nuclear. They can't do the nuclear. You know, the one thing I've been strong on, they can't do the nuclear. Now, this attack that we did at the time, which is now a little bit older than what happened in Venezuela recently, which was equally as good, but the attack in Iran, if they do it, it's going to happen again. They've got to stop with the nuclear. You know, they keep experimenting with nuclear, and you know, at some point they're going to get the idea that they can't do that. They're just not going to be able to do that.
Someday.
Let them have it.
Like they didn't get the message already. Well, and Obama was perfectly fine with it. Yeah, you can enrich uranium. I mean, well, they told me it was only for nuclear power. They just want to build power stations. I mean, what's so wrong with that, says Obama. All right, so Department of State, Venezuela has been an amazing place for so many years, but then they went bad with their policies, but we're helping them. And those 50 million barrels, we're going to be splitting up with them, and they'll be making more money than they have made in a long time. That's what I said. I believe that Venezuela, they're most likely going to get the lion's share of any profits that are going to come out of Venezuela. At least I think that'd be the right thing to do. Now, where the money goes, who gets control of the money, that's a whole nother matter, which I believe that the U.S. government, State Department, President Trump, they're overseeing that. I believe it's going to be, I don't know if escrow is the right word, but it's going to be held in accounts until the country is stable enough for any profits between now and then with regard to Venezuelan oil to be handed over to the Venezuelan government, the new Venezuelan government.
Venezuela has been an amazing
Ooh, that's quiet.
place for so many years, but then they went bad with their policies. 20 years ago, it was a great country, and now it's
Richest in South
got
America.
problems, but we're
Now it's the
helping
poorest.
them. And those 50 million barrels,
That's socialism for you.
we're going to be splitting up with them, and they'll be making more money than they've made in a long time. Venezuela is going to do fantastically well. We appreciate all of the cooperation we've been giving. We've been giving great cooperation. Once the attack ended, and they said, let's make a deal. More people should do that. Venezuela's been...
All right. So, whenever you bring up socialism and Venezuela to Democrats, they're always like, well, but that's different. I mean, that's not America. That's just a different system. It's totally going to work this time. It's never worked ever in the history of socialism or communism or what have you, Marxism. Oh, no, but it's going to work because, it's America. Of course it's going to work. All right, so Department of State, they got to get that war stopped because too many people are dying, needlessly dying. Too many souls are being lost. It's the only reason I'm interested in doing it, and he's talking about the Russia-Ukraine war in this one.
I want to stop it. It's a horrible war. It's the worst since World War II. They keep going. They'll exceed World War II. The numbers are staggering, how many people they've lost. They don't want to talk about it.
It's been what? Going on 5 years?
Ukraine and Russia lost just tremendous amounts. And I'm dealing with President Putin, and he wants to make a deal, I believe. I'm dealing with President Zelensky, and I think he wants to make a deal. I'm meeting him today. He might be in the audience right now. But they got to get that war stopped. because too many people are dying, needlessly dying. Too many souls are being lost. It's the only reason I'm interested in doing it.
All right, so I would like to know how many that they are that have been killed so far since the conflict started. I know that, here, let me just do that. I know President Trump says that he throws around numbers like 6,000 per day are being killed in the conflict. So confirmed by name, BBC and Mediazona is 164,000. The realistic estimates are looking around 200 to 250,000, which is an absolutely speechless, man. It's an absolutely crazy number for 250,000 people to have been killed so far in the Russia-Ukraine war, which started like not even a month after Biden was nominated, or after he was inaugurated. I think it was. It was like exactly a month, wasn't it? I don't think it was a year later. I believe it started in 2021. I mean, if I got my time scale right. All right, so anyway, the president on Greenland, well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them, and we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole. It has to do with the security.
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off.
I think we already got this one, didn't we?
Like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal.
All right, yep, we got that one. We're good. We'll move on to the next one. Here, let me just take just one quick look. January 2026. I just want to make sure that if it said 2021 here or not. No, I don't see 2021. I thought maybe I glanced at that year when I was just skimming through that. All right, so from the Department of State, another quote from the president at the World Economic Forum. It's the United States alone that could protect this giant mass of land, and that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States.
It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it and make it so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us. And that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States. It's the United States alone.
All right. And I'd be curious to know how much wealth is locked up in Greenland. I don't know. Just keep it simple, to the point. How much money and resources is estimated to be in Greenland? Let's take a look. Higher speculative claims up to 10 trillion or more as more ice melts and exploration advances. But anyway, common cited figures, reports range from 2 trillion to 5 trillion, which I assume would be relatively accessible as of today. Maybe down the road as more develops on Greenland, maybe they could access more down the line. So Department of State, every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States.
I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark. Tremendous respect. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States.
Yeah, that is kind of a fair argument with regard to NATO. I mean, they got to defend all their territories, and Greenland's kind of wide open. And from the president, again, I just say this: NATO has treated the United States of America very unfairly. Yeah, they have. I mean, they probably still owe us God knows how many billions of dollars. We never asked for anything. We never got anything. We actually took care of the needs of NATO for years and years, which I felt was always unfair. But I think it's time that NATO steps up.
I just say this. NATO has treated the United States of America very unfairly. We never asked for anything. We never got anything. We actually took care of the needs of NATO for years and years, which I felt was always unfair. So I got NATO to pay because they're rich countries. But I think it's time that NATO step up. We're helping them with Ukraine. Without us, I think Putin would have gone all the way. I think we have it. I think that could have been a World War III, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, I think so
if
too,
Kamala
actually.
was elected, or Joe, any one of those,
100%.
Those thinkers, I think you could have ended up in World War III. And I will say Steve Witkoff has been dealing incredibly with, but we're not going to have World War III. We want to get it stopped, but we're not going to have World War III. I think if I wasn't elected, I think that could have evolved into World War III. It was a very, very bad situation, and it still is, but it's not that kind of bad. It's bad because so many young people are being killed.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. There's got to be countless Democrats that they would finally give some credits to Trump if he dropped a nuclear weapon somewhere in Russia. He's acting so presidential all of a sudden, because I think that's what they want. They want global nuclear annihilation. They want a population of less than 100 million people. All these psychopaths at the World Economic Forum, this Davos group, all the elites, the ivory tower elites, and the establishment, all these people, that's really what all these roads lead to. They just want depopulation because it takes care of the climate change, takes care of everything. And Mother Nature can breathe again. All right, so the president on NATO, we've helped them for so many years, and we've gotten anything except we pay for NATO, and we pay for many years until I came along, and all we're asking for is to get Greenland.
So what
seems fair to me.
Gotten out of NATO is nothing except to protect
everything
Europe
we got
from
was
the Soviet
nothing.
Union and now Russia. I mean, we've helped them for so many years. We've never gotten anything except we pay for NATO. And we paid for many years until I came along. We paid for, in my opinion, 100% of NATO because they weren't paying their bills. And all we're asking for is to get Greenland, including right title and ownership, because you need the ownership to defend it.
Wow,
so
man.
What we
yeah,
have,
I think he's kind of dead set on getting Greenland. I think come hell or high water, Trump's getting Greenland. This is crazy, man. I figured it was just a pipe dream, or maybe he was just like kind of like a lighthearted troll or something that he was doing. But no, man, he's dead set on Greenland. Sounds like that might actually end up happening. All right, so quote, a strong and secure America means a strong NATO, and that's the reason why I'm working every day to ensure our military is very powerful, our borders are very strong, and above all, our economy is strong because national security requires economic security and economic prosperity.
a strong and
I don't even know why I just
America
read that. He's
means
going
a
to say all
strong
that word
NATO.
for word.
And that's one reason why I'm working every day to ensure our military is very powerful, our borders are very strong, and above all, our economy is strong because national security requires economic security and economic prosperity, and we have the greatest that we've ever had.
Yeah, that we do, 100%. All right, it's another quote. So this time I'm just going to let President Trump say it.
Too. The European nations, Japan, South Korea, they're our partners. They've gone into massive deals with us, especially on oil and gas. And these agreements raise growth and cause stock markets to boom, not only in the U.S., but virtually every country that came to make a deal, because, as you've learned, when the United States goes up, you follow. It's really become a staple of countries as a
All right. Let's see if we got any more. Secretary Marco Rubio, the United States cares greatly about the people of Europe and the bonds we share as a civilization, but we want strong allies, not seriously weakened ones. Europe must depart from the culture they've created over the last 10 years. Otherwise, they will destroy themselves. Yeah, he couldn't be more right about
The
that.
United States cares greatly about the people of
Mass
Europe.
migration.
We really do. I mean, look,
And so on.
I am derived from Europe, Scotland and Germany.
All this climate change psychopathy.
100% Scotland, my mother, 100% German, my father.
Well,
and we
there you
believe
go.
deeply in the bonds we share with Europe as a civilization. I want to see it do great. That's why issues like energy, trade, immigration, and economic growth must be central concerns to anyone who wants to see a strong and united West, because Europe and those countries have to do their thing. They have to get out of the culture that they've created over the last 10 years. It's horrible what they're doing to themselves. They're destroying themselves. It's beautiful, beautiful places. We want strong allies, not seriously weakened ones. We want Europe to be strong.
Yep. They're paying attention to the leftist elitist and the freaking ridiculous leftist activists and the quote unquote nonprofits, and they don't want to look racist, so they just kind of let whatever happens, and they don't really push back on anything anymore. Like not in the UK, France, Netherlands, Germany, Probably pretty much all of Europe, but what do I know? All right, so the president praises Secretary Rubio's diplomacy skills.
I became a diplomat for the first time. Well, who taught me that? Marco Rubio. He said, let me teach you about diplomacy. Hey, any guy that gets approved by 100% of the votes, think of it, he got liberal Democrats and radical right Republicans to approve him. He's the only one. The next one was lost 45 votes, right? But he got all 100 votes voting for him. And at first I wasn't happy about it. I said, wait a minute, I don't like that. And now it turns out that the Democrats probably wish they didn't do that. And Marco has been fantastic. Marco, stand up, please. You have done a great job as Secretary of State. He's going to go down as the best Secretary of State. And
yeah, he actually probably will, and probably one of the busiest, at least in recent history. All right, so we've got this. President Donald Trump says he will not use military force to take Greenland, but still wants Greenland. The U.S. trade rep, who is, is it Jamieson Greer? I think it's Jamieson Greer. I could be wrong on that, though. It says the threat of tariffs will not spark a trade war. Here's why. Let's take a look. From Edward Lawrence.
The president was 3 hours late because of a plane issue, and his speaking engagement went longer than anybody thought, about 90 minutes. He was supposed to unveil his housing plan going forward, but you could not throw a stone here in Davos without somebody talking about Greenland. The president saying that he was set to impose 10% tariffs February 1st, which would increase then if the EU did not sell Greenland to him. The U.S. trade representative says the president posted some of the engagements he's had with world leaders on social media and believes this will be worked out at the leader level.
I don't think it's going to spark a trade war, and I'll tell you why.
That's Jameson Greer.
The European Union has a $240 billion trade surplus with us. They're incredibly dependent on us as a consumer market. Their markets overseas are shrinking due to Chinese overcapacity in shipments. They really need us. The Europeans may choose to do something. They may choose to take action.
They're letting Chinese EVs in there, too.
For them to do that. I think more likely than not, we'll find a way forward.
And Volkswagen wonders why they got to close plants for the first time in 90 years.
Retaliate with counter tariffs. The president also casting doubt on the United Nations. He holds his first meeting of his Board of Peace tomorrow and hints it could replace the UN. But he was here again to talk about housing, and this is what he said on that.
I can crush the hell out of the market. We can drop interest rates to a level, and that's one thing we do want to do. That's natural. That's good for everybody. The drop.
Yeah, but how's that going to bring down prices, though, Trump?
Much lower interest rate than we are.
How's it going to drive down the price? We need low prices.
So the president says he wants to balance holding homes' values while, again, allowing it more cheaply to buy a home for Americans. He talked about the number of things that he's doing, including capping credit card interest rates at 10% for 1 year, as putting more money in people's wallets to be able to afford that down payment for a house.
Oh, come on, dude. Thank you. That's not going to be good enough, man.
Things that he's doing.
Oh, yeah, it's just not good enough. Like, the average house is like $400,000. Like, the average American family makes like $80K a year. It's unaffordable. I mean, even with low interest rates. I mean, if interest rates hit like 2%, which most people aren't going to be qualified for anyway, it's still going to be a sizable percentage. And anybody who gets into a house, they're going to have to hope and pray nothing goes wrong. That they're going to have to dig up their freaking plumbing or God forbid you got to put on a new roof, which is going to cost what now? Like $30,000-$40,000. And the list goes on and on. It's all about the price, man. It's always been all about the price. If housing comes back down to like the $200,000 range, now we'll be talking. Now people can finally afford homes, which, of course, the big banks are not going to be happy with that. They're loving the value of houses that have skyrocketed. I think that it could be the big banks, could be the housing appraisal offices, the local appraisal offices, maybe even school districts. They could all be colluding with one another to have driven up housing prices. It wouldn't surprise me. All right, so anyway, moving on. Kingsley Wilson. President Trump is right. Greenland is a strategic national security priority.
As the president has said, Greenland is a strategic national security priority. The Department of War absolutely agrees with that.
I think she's a spokeswoman
our
for the
adversaries,
Department of War.
namely Russia and China, all over the Arctic, seeking to encroach upon military channels, commercial channels, and we want to make sure that the Arctic is secure. The U.S. is best positioned to do that, so we are 100% behind President Trump's calls here.
All right, we'll wait and see. And from the U.S. Commerce Department, President Trump is putting the American worker first and leaving globalization behind. We are bringing manufacturing back to America to make quality products, create good jobs, and revitalize the American economy.
The president always says, once upon a time there was Intel inside. You remember that? We made all the semiconductors. If the president of the United States at the time said, hey,
then they went to Mexico, and then they went to Taiwan, China, and Japan.
Then semiconductors would have never left. Instead, we slept through it. We left this globalization model where you should go find the cheapest labor and move to the cheapest labor. And what happened? It all left America. It gutted the industrial base of America. And now we need to bring that home. We need
Democrats
to create
are like,
those
that's
jobs.
why capitalism
fails. Take care
fails.
of American workers first.
No, that's bad policy.
We're focusing on American workers. I mean, think about it. What model would have Ford stock up 40%, General Motors up 60%, except when you put Donald Trump in the Oval Office and he says, I'm going to take care of my domestic auto industry. The UAW is on side. Sean Fain, who runs the UAW,
United Auto Workers,
called me.
I'm familiar with
I can't believe I'm calling
UAW.
a Republican Secretary of Commerce to say, thank God for you guys. You guys care about the American worker.
Yeah, I know that because my dad used to be an industrial engineer for a major car auto manufacturer, or a car maker, I mean. All right, so let's see.
The president
Oh, shit, didn't mean to do that. All right, let's go to this one. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Minnesota's weather is cloudy with a 100% chance of ice. Oh, no. We're not going to be doing that. I'll play the video, but, I'm trying to get used to myself not playing copyrighted music because YouTube hates that, man. YouTube doesn't like that at all. To the point where YouTube will make me have to go through the process of muting this anyway, because in the editing phase of uploading a video on YouTube, it will give you that option where you can just mute this entire section, and it takes forever. It'll take like 2 hours longer for me to get this video uploaded if I have to do that. So I prefer not to do that. Already knowing that it's going to make me do that, that's why I'm going to mute this. But anyway, it's showing there's a 100% chance for ice in Minnesota, as they're all over Minnesota. Over 2,000 federal agents up there, probably even more at this point. I'm sure there's more that are being added to the ranks every day. Taking care of business, getting all the worst of the worst out of Minnesota, doing them a favor and not so much as a fucking thank you from the people living there. Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are thankful. They're just, they're afraid to speak up. They don't want to be targeted by the outrage mob. So House Judiciary GOP, just how bad is the fraud in Minnesota? Watch and leer.
It's all about it's welfare fraud. It's all about the daycare.
They estimate as much as $100 million a year is being stolen by shady daycare center operators.
So how much money are we talking about stolen from the American
And you wonder why
taxpayer?
daycare is so expensive.
In excess of $1 billion.
Ripping off state-run programs intended to feed low-income kids, house the disabled, and provide services to autistic children.
Where are the children at? Do you know where the children are at? Where are the children at in these daycare centers?
I don't care.
Are there children here today?
No.
No children?
Yes.
So this is Quality
Yikes.
Leering Center. Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going.
He tried to open it.
Was focused on one thing and one thing only, and that was keeping these folks in business.
When do you think Governor Walz knew about this fraud?
From
Over
the
a
very
decade.
beginning. What happened here in Minnesota?
Since
that
what,
allowed
2018?
this fraud to materialize.
The people at the highest levels of responsibility in the government of the state of Minnesota.
Yeah,
looked the other
they're
way.
supposed to be held accountable. You would think that they'd be held accountable. In other words, he should be going to jail. That's what he should be doing. He should be going to prison. All right, Homeland Security. Obviously, we're switching things up at this point. Showing their faces, show their crimes. DHS has launched wow.dhs.gov or wow.dhs.gov for Americans to see the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens arrested. With this transparent tool, see for yourself what public safety threats were lurking in your community. I brought this up a few weeks ago when they first dropped this website. This wasn't just released today. It's been around for probably at least a month, maybe even longer than that. About a month ago was when I first got eyes on this. And of course, I'll link that so you can have a look. I've got actually a couple of posts with regard to wow.dhs.gov. So let's take a look at this.
The fact that he just kept holding up dozens after dozens of pictures of these scumbags.
I showed that last night on the
You guys
Swamp.
at Homeland Security,
President
when
Trump.
it comes to ICE, Border Patrol, are taking off the streets of America. So let me just say, God bless to all the agents out there, Micah, under Homeland Security. They're doing great work.
Well, thanks, Dan. Thanks so much for having me. And I think the president's absolutely right. Showing the faces, showing the crimes of these individuals and what they're committing on the streets is what's going to change the mindset
he took
of the
like
American
20 minutes
people,
doing that
specifically
yesterday
those that are rioting
from
and
the podium at the
protesting.
White House.
Some people are swept along by this urge to somehow defend these criminals. And when you identify
exactly
who
what
they
they're
are
doing.
and the crimes they committed, that urge to defend them immediately subsides and immediately fades away. And that's what we've been doing at DHS, is we've been drawing attention not just to the criminals in Minnesota, but across the country, specifically using tools like our Worst of the Worst database. If you go to wow.dhs.gov, there's tens of thousands of criminal illegal aliens that we have arrested that have extensive criminal histories from murder, from rape, from molestation, human trafficking, sex trafficking, all across the board. And you can see their faces, you can see their crimes, and you can see what we are doing day in, day out to make America safer. So the president's right. Show their faces, show their crimes, and the American people want safe streets, and that's what we're delivering.
Amen.
Well, yeah, average Americans, yes, absolutely. The far leftists, they'll say, well, that's not the vast majority of the undocumented migrants. That's just like really bad people. But you keep arresting innocent people, which they're obviously not doing. They're arresting the worst of the worst. I mean, they've said that so many times at this point. All right, this anti-ICE agitator needs to visit wow.dhs.gov.
It's simple. It's straight simple. They can look like me, you, her, him. If you're legal or illegal, you'll get deported.
A European country right
Then
now,
why aren't you
and you
doing
want
it
to
to
Canadian?
Canada, 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 Canada. I love it. Oh yeah, we'll take them too. Meanwhile, probably a copyrighted song. Whatever, I don't care. Yep, there you have it. A lot of Canadians getting arrested by ICE. And yeah, here's the direct link to the website posted by Homeland Security. And yep, so arrested the worst of the worst. Department of Homeland Security is highlighting the worst of the worst criminal aliens arrested by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Under Secretary Noem's leadership, the hardworking men and women of DHS and ICE are fulfilling President Trump's promise and carrying out mass deportations, starting with the worst of the worst, including the illegal aliens you see here. And it is a hell of a long list. I can only imagine what it's up to now. It was like something like 13,000 names when I last looked. See, last time I was here, it let me click on last. No. Oh, okay. Hold on. Oh, so okay, never mind. So this is the worst of the worst. There's another page on this website somewhere, and maybe it's a different website. Maybe it's on ice.gov. It could be on ice.gov, but they have like a full list of all criminal illegals, like who are actual for real criminals that have been apprehended, and it's in the thousands. It's like 12, 13,000 names, and I haven't seen it in a couple of few weeks. But yeah, so these are just like the quote unquote worst of the worst that have been arrested. But anyway, still, it's a resource to use. It's simple to give out. Wow.dhs.gov, and they even have it. Oh, okay. So this is categorized from Minnesota specifically. So maybe okay. So this one is just dhs.gov/wow, and yeah. So this one's just for Minnesota. So maybe the one that has all might be the one that I was thinking of. Yeah, here it is. See, look at this. 1,682 pages. So this includes all 50 states. The last one that I looked at with like 38 pages, give or take, that was just Minnesota. This is the entire country. So I think there were like roughly like 20 names per page. So when you multiply by 1,682, you get a hell of a big number. It's like 35,000 names that are on this website so far. So, and like I said, last time I looked at it, it was like under 15,000. And now it's like well over 30,000. All right, so Stephen Miller, illegal aliens with free lawyers flood the courts with fraudulent asylum applications, demonstrating utter contempt for our laws and taxpayers in order to obtain U.S. citizenship. When those fraudulent applications are justly denied, they are deported. Anything less is open borders. And he's replying to Democrat Chris Murphy, just showed up at the San Antonio Immigration Court. I'm here as an observer. People are coming here for their required appearances, people following the law. It's 8:15 a.m. and the place is already swarming with armed ICE officers waiting to arrest peaceful, legal immigrants. Well, dude, if they had a court date, they probably wouldn't be legal. They did something to get into the courtroom. And just like what Stephen Miller said, like he's suggesting that they're there to obtain U.S. citizenship. I didn't see anything here about U.S. citizenship. Sounds like he's showing up to an immigration court. like an order for deportation or the final order for deportation that's issued by a judge. So perhaps he might have actually gone to the court not where they're giving citizenship. Sounds to me like he went to the court where they're having a hearing with regard to their status and whether if they should be deported or not. And if they do receive an order for deportation, well, of course ICE is going to be there waiting. I mean, why wouldn't they be? Of course they'd be there. All right, so Rep. Jason Smith, alongside every Republican on the Ways and Means Committee, I'm calling on the IRS to enhance its oversight of the tax-exempt sector following the ongoing Somali fraud scandal in Minnesota. The potential theft of billions in taxpayer dollars shows the serious need for reform, particularly following the Biden administration's failure to hold these organizations accountable. As the committee continues its investigation into waste, fraud, abuse, and illegal activity across the tax-exempt sector, it is clear that the IRS must take a more hands-on approach to safeguarding taxpayer dollars and ensuring nonprofits are properly monitored. I applaud President Trump's bold efforts to hold those involved in fraud schemes accountable and look forward to working with his administration to put an end to this fraud once and for all. And again, that was Rep. Jason Smith. And this is from Homeland Security. They're even going after the dogs. In Minneapolis, anti-ICE agitators are targeting our CBP canines, including Canine Dina, pictured here. At the kennel where Canine Dina was staying, it was discovered that an employee had written ICE out on her feed chart. So that's the feed chart for Canine Dina, and wrote ICE out. Uneffing believable. All right. And moving on to Senate Republicans, scammers in Minnesota and beyond aren't just stealing taxpayer money, they're taking it away from Americans who need it the most. Senate Republicans are partnering with the Trump administration to stop these criminals. And this is going to be on Fox News. Top Trump administration education official exposes blue state financial aid fraud offenders. And top administration education department official exposed a pair of blue states that he says are among the worst for federal student aid fraud as officials crack down on scammers who are exploiting the taxpayer-funded programs. In 2025, the DOE said it prevented $1 billion worth of fraud in the aid programs. Undersecretary of Education Nicholas Kent said these schemes are not only a waste of taxpayer money, but also disproportionately affect low-income students trying to pay for their education. Quote, we talked about California being certainly a hub of fraud, waste, and abuse, but we also see Minnesota, for example, Ken told Fox. One of the things that has been brought to light over the course of the last couple of weeks is the enormous amount of fraud, waste, and abuse under the governor's leadership there. And this is something that the Federal Department of Education has lifted up and highlighted months ago. And to kind of put that into perspective, that's 1,700 Pell Grants for low-income students that the money could have gone toward. So when we think about limited resources, we think about taking money, these things that low-income and middle-income students really need in order to get in and through their educational journey. During a 12-month period between 24 and 25, scammers stole at least $10 million in federal financial aid from community colleges in California. According to one report, 34% of applications to community colleges in the state last year were likely fake. 34% likely fake in California, and they probably got them no matter what. Ken explained that in many cases, ghost students are to blame. What we see often in terms of financial aid fraud are what we call ghost students. And these are students who really never intend to enroll in post-secondary education. They never intend to take classes or to graduate. They enroll for the sole purpose of defrauding the federal student aid program. And anyway, it goes on from there. And we'll just move on to House Republicans. How do you steal $9 billion in taxpayer dollars? And in Democrat-run states like Minnesota, the rules are set up to protect the criminals who commit massive fraud. House Republicans are holding Tim Walz and the Somali fraudsters accountable.
The fact that part of our job was to go and collect attendance records. We would find attendance records that were either incomplete, non-existent. Obviously, there were times we found them to be fabricated because they were given to us way later. And the same with billing records. They were allowed 30 days after the end of the billing period to submit billing records. So they were not immediately available to us. And it kind of allowed overpayments or double payments to be overlooked.
Yeah, kind of. I would say probably blatantly overlooked. Chief Michael W. Banks, in a coordinated search with HSI, Border Patrol agents dismantled a drug and firearms trafficking ring, leading to multiple arrests and the seizure of weapons and narcotics. These criminals will be fully prosecuted, followed by an order of deportation. And I don't know if they've actually linked anything, did they? No, they didn't. Just some comments down below in the comments. And also from Homeland Security, yet again, the media is trying to twist data to smear ICE law enforcement. There's been no spikes in deaths. Consistent with data over the last decade, death rates in custody are 0.00007%, an extremely low number. As bed space has expanded, we have maintained higher standard of care than most prisons that hold U.S. citizens, including providing access to proper medical care. For many illegal aliens, this is the best health care they've received for their entire lives. And this is from Axios. Deaths in ICE custody reached 20-year high amid Trump enforcement push. And they say there's 31 out of, like, how many? Out of in ICE custody, hundreds of thousands. What was it, like 600,000 that they've apprehended? And like there's 31 out of 600,000. Like, how many U.S. inmates are dying in prison on an annual basis? I'm sure it's probably way higher than 31. I don't know, just my opinion. And, of course, they don't link anything. Oh, yeah, here they do. Yeah, never mind. Immigrant detention deaths reached 20-year high under Trump. Deaths in ICE custody, 2029 to 2025. And let's see. So it's a paywall, of course, because it's Axios. At least 31 people died in ICE custody. Oh, whatever. We're not going to get anything out of that because it's all paywalled anyway. All right, so we'll head on to the next thing. It will be linked regardless of being paywalled. And from RNC Research, you are a sick and deranged individual. And they're talking about Governor Newsom press office. And they say Nazi coded. And they're trying to suggest that he's wearing a Nazi uniform, where he's just wearing what looks like a leather long jacket. I don't know if that's technically a trench coat. Probably is. But yeah, he's Greg Bovino, of course, with CBP, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, he says, Greg Bovino, alongside our brave ICE and CBP officers, are risking their lives every day to protect the American people, and lunatics like you continue to incite violence against them. Yeah, it's absolutely what Democrats are doing, because they're a bunch of psychopaths. All right, Rapid Response 47 now offering $2,600 stipend via the CBP Home app for illegal aliens to leave now. So it's not only $1,000 anymore. They've upped it to $2,600. And during the holiday season, it was $3,000. As President Trump begins his second year of making America safe again and continuing mass deportations, the Department of Homeland Security is offering an even greater incentive for eligible illegal aliens to leave now. Starting today, illegal aliens who sign up to self-deport through the CBP Home app will receive a $2,600 stipend, in addition to a free flight home. More than 2 million illegal aliens have made the decision to self-deport. And there you go. I don't know. I somehow think that might incentivize a lot more to self-deport this year. I don't know if we'll see more than 2 million. Maybe we will. I mean, now they've got 1,600 more reasons to do exactly that. In addition to, if they end up getting caught and deported, then they'll never be allowed to come back. At least if they self-deport, they'll still have a future possibility of being able to immigrate into the U.S. legally. All right, another one from ICE, Operation Catch of the Day. Governor Janet Mills refuses to work with ICE to remove criminal illegal aliens from Maine neighborhoods and protect American families. ICE remains committed to enforcing federal immigration laws and defending the homeland.
Yeah, good evening, Brett. And frigid temperatures did not stop ICE from hitting the ground running here.
Well, no, dude, they're ICE, for crying out loud.
Exclusively embedded with what was DHS dubbing an Operation Catch of the Day. Now, some targets proved harder than others to capture. This Sudanese man has more than a dozen criminal convictions in Maine, according to the Homeland Security Department. Those include aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and violation of protection orders. A federal immigration judge had ordered his final removal, but until today,
broken just about every law Maine has on the books, and they still were trying to
Ecuadorian nationals also
create a safe haven for him,
facing drunk driving charges. One crossed the border illegally during the Biden administration and was later released.
That's your governor, Maine, protecting these people.
Here in Maine, ranging from rape of a child, drug trafficking, sexual assaults, simple assaults, driving while under the influence.
Yeah, whatever. What about Me Too? What about Believe All Women? You know, what about those movements? All those progressive leftists. What do they feel about this guy?
Well,
but he's okay because he's a poor, innocent, undocumented migrant.
Congo. Portland's mayor is blasting the crackdown, saying this: "We are a welcoming city. There is no evidence, though, of unchecked criminal activity in our community."
Oh my God, what a fucking retarded statement.
Of federal agents. And Lewiston's mayor posting an ICE Watch hotline today, available in 9 languages.
They ban their law enforcement from partnering or even communicating with ICE. And when law enforcement doesn't communicate with law enforcement, that puts our communities in danger.
And
Telling
so
you
far
what, y'all
today,
spread the
ICE
news.
says they have arrested nearly
You got people living up in Maine. Let them know, because they might not be aware of what's going on.
Instances that agitators
they might just go to work and go home and be none the wiser.
Deputy Assistant Director Hyde says that they won't stop until they get everyone on their target list. Brett?
Well, damn straight, I certainly hope not. They're still going to go out in full force, regardless of the progressive leftists. Actually, I think I saw, didn't they link an article too? Looked like I caught one. Yeah, they did, from DHS.gov. I'll just link it. I won't go through because we just saw the video clip. They probably covered all of it anyway, for the most part. All right, so another one from ICE. Our goal is simple: protecting American citizens from the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens in the sanctuary state of Minnesota. I know, I get tired saying the same statement over and over again. It's like every day they're saying the same thing. But look, they have to, because they have to keep reminding everybody. And every day, maybe there's a couple of new people that aren't aware of what's going on, and they're just now hearing about it. So let's give this a watch.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcos Charles.
There's Greg Bovino right there.
Introduced, I am.
So this didn't happen today. I believe this happened yesterday. Yeah, yesterday afternoon in Minneapolis.
Executive Associate Director for ICE Enforcement Removal Operations. Thank you for joining us. We announced the current status of Operation Metro Surge. As you know, the Department of Homeland Security has arrested over 10,000 illegal aliens in Minnesota since President Trump took office.
10,000.
Over the weekend and through yesterday's holiday, ICE arrested 113 illegal aliens in Minnesota. Some of the criminal aliens that were arrested, whose photos you see beside me on the monitor, include an illegal alien gang member from Laos with convictions for homicide and robbery, an illegal alien from Laos who's
a thief and a killer,
been convicted for sodomizing a 12-year-old girl and sexual assault,
and a child R-worder.
An illegal alien from the Marshall Islands who has 24 criminal convictions, including assault, domestic abuse, and theft. There's an illegal alien from Honduras convicted of 3 DUIs who has also been arrested for kidnapping, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and possession of a stolen firearm. An illegal alien from South Africa, convicted of violating a restraining order and arrested for domestic violence, assault, meth possession, and DUI. We are currently also looking for 2 sexual predators who are at large in or around St. Paul right now. Lu Mao Ah, a criminal illegal alien from Laos who is wanted for sexually assaulting a child, rape, kidnapping, and domestic violence. And Kong Ming Bang, a criminal illegal alien from Laos who is wanted for sexual assault, gang activity, and simple assault. If you have any information about these 2 criminal illegal aliens or any other criminal illegal aliens, please call the ICE tip line.
I'm just reading the screen.
866.
Oh wait, no, never mind. That dude was arrested.
2 ICE. Or visit our website at ice.gov to submit a tip. Since President Trump took office 1 year ago today, the state of Minnesota has released nearly 500 criminal aliens who were in police or state custody rather than turning them over to ICE for removal proceedings.
Yep, because they want the drama in the streets.
Already have a final order of removal, which means an immigration judge has determined that they have no legal basis to remain in the United States. ICE currently has more than 1,360 immigration detainers.
No other way to put it.
Illegal aliens in Minnesota jails and prisons, and we are calling on Governor Walz and Mayor Fry to turn these criminal illegal aliens directly over to ICE to keep Minnesota residents in our community safe.
Yeah, with all the hot water they're in, with all this fraud, you think they would.
Cities don't want to
they're not too bright.
Don't want ICE to arrest criminal aliens that are at large in their communities. The best solution is to turn them over to us in a safe, controlled setting like a jail or prison, instead of releasing them back onto the street to victimize our neighborhoods, where your children go to school, where your parents live, and where you worship, shop, and spend time with your loved ones. The holiday weekend's arrests reflect ICE's commitment to public safety and responsible enforcement. When criminal illegal aliens threaten the Twin Cities or any other city in America, we act decisively to remove them from the community in a controlled and lawful manner. Our goal is simple. We're here to protect the American communities from people like the ones you see here on the monitor. Thank you.
All right, yeah, and I just cannot get over that fact that these illegal immigrants are committing crimes to the point where they're getting arrested. And I get it, like presumed innocent until proven guilty. Regardless, they're arrested and they're put in jail. And Democrats are going so far out of their way to release them back out into the public, knowing that they have an order for deportation. So a judge has ordered their removal, and they just say, well, to hell with it. We're just going to let them out anyway. It boggles my mind that they're just going to take that stance and just believe that that's going to secure their win to retake the House and the Senate. And it blows my mind. And of course, a lot of them are going to get reelected for sure, because they're in a lot of those blue no matter who districts. All right, so moving on to the FBI. 37 Mexican nationals wanted for serious crimes have been transferred to the United States from Mexico, including leaders of foreign terrorist organizations. And that's going to be on justice.gov. And so they go into some great detail into that, showing images of them getting on the plane, being extradited back to the United States, where they're going to, face justice for the drugs, right? I believe it's related to drugs, drug cartels, arms traffickers, and terrorists. So the FBI has been proving that we will hold dangerous criminals accountable for their egregious violent acts, no matter who they try to hide. Today's announcement of the return of dozens of fugitives from Mexico to face charges is yet another example of the FBI's relentless work and partnerships here in the U.S. and in Mexico. We will continue to work to put a stop to these drug cartels, arms traffickers, and terrorists from bringing crime, drugs, and firearms to our city streets and neighborhoods. And that's from FBI Director Kash Patel. And this from Senator Marsha Blackburn. Let's set the record straight, Ilhan Omar. So let's first read hers. So she posted this on the X platform. This week, the House votes on DHS funding. I will not vote to give ICE a single cent. No more blank checks for a rogue agency that operates above the law, escalates violence, and erodes our most basic freedoms. I don't know. If I were to write this, I might have said operates below the law. Maybe that might have been a little more profound, because I don't know, the way that I read that makes it sound like that they're so lawful. They're ascending law. And all right, whatever. So anyway, so Senator Marsha Blackburn says Democrats gave blank checks to Somali fraudsters on the taxpayers' dime. Yeah, that they did. And Democrats allow criminal illegals to operate above the law. And Democrats escalated violence against ICE. Stop blaming ICE for your own party's failures, which of course they're not going to do. They're just going to keep gaslighting, because that's all they got left. They're backed into a corner. All the Democrats have left is just gaslighting, and more gaslighting. All right, Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill, not on our watch. We will invoke federal law to demand records and hold them accountable. And he replied to Bill Milugin, who says, in the wake of the Minnesota fraud scandal, Virginia Democratic State Rep Jessica Anderson has introduced HB 1369, a simple one-page bill that would ban the VA from requiring nonprofits to verify whether people are eligible for certain federal taxpayer benefits. Yeah, you read that correctly. And it says simply, oh, you know what? I'm going to go back because I can't zoom in from that view. So a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding in Article 1 of Chapter 6, Title 2.2, a section numbered to, numbers relating to a state agency administration of federal funds, eligibility, determination, exemption for nonprofit organizations. That the Code of Virginia is amended by adding in Article 1 of Chapter 6, Title 2.2, section numbered numbers 2.2-614.6. All right, there you go. So as follows, Section 2.2-614.6, State Agency Administration of Federal Funds, Eligibility, Determination, Exemption for Nonprofit Organizations. No state agency responsible for the administration of federal funds shall impose a requirement on a nonprofit charitable organization providing a federal public benefit to determine, verify, or otherwise require proof of eligibility of any applicant for such benefits. As used in this section, federal public benefit has the same meaning as provided in 8 U.S.C. Section 1611, subsection C. All right. So I guess we'll just roll on to the next one then, shall we? All right, so Senate Republicans, tragic news. An illegal drunk driver with a past DUI hit and killed a young couple in North Carolina. They were only 19 and 20 years old. This is what happens when radical Democrats like Roy Cooper push soft on crime policies that protect illegals over Americans. Yeah, that's absolutely what happens.
Placed on a man accused of driving drunk and hitting and killing 2 people in a crash in Rowan County. That ICE detainer placed for Juan Aguilar today. He was given a $5 million bond today as well. That means ICE agents have 48 hours to arrest Aguilar, and he could face deportation. His bond was also increased from $250,000 to that $5 million. Now, the sheriff's office says he crashed his vehicle on Amity Hill Road, killing Fletcher Harris, a Catawba College soccer player, and his girlfriend, Skylar Provenza. A funeral for Skylar is set for tomorrow.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And Democrats, they won't say a word of it. They'll just try to sweep it under the rug. They'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they'll just move on with their day. All right, U.S. DOT Rapid Response must watch. Rep. Brandon Gill exposes how the Obama-Biden administration rolled back English language requirements for truckers, costing lives. The president and Secretary Duffy restored the requirement and are bringing safety back to American roads.
In 2016, the Obama-Biden administration issued internal guidance that weakened enforcement by discouraging roadside interviews and out-of-service penalties, effectively nullifying a core safety rule without changing the law. Since that time, fatal truck crashes have increased and multiple deadly incidents have involved non-domiciled or non-English proficient drivers who should have never been licensed or allowed to operate in the first place. In many cases, they shouldn't have even been in this country in the first place. The Trump administration has moved to restore the rule of law by rescinding the guidance, and even Democrat-led states such as California couldn't hide the damage inflicted by the radical Democrats' open borders policies and revoked 17,000 commercial driver's licenses given to illegal aliens. Thank you, witnesses, for taking the time to be here. Mr. Speer, do you consider the Obama-Biden administration 2016 rule guidance, which discouraged out-of-service enforcement for English proficiency failures, to be a breakdown in regulatory control over a critical transportation sector?
I do. That decision cost lives. And respectfully, Congressman Crockett, the accident that was cited in the chair's opening statement killed people because that driver did not understand what he was doing. And an 80,000-pound vehicle is much different than a car. It does not stop on a dime.
No, it's like a freaking train, man.
These are very heavy vehicles that have to have people trained and skilled to operate them. And they need to understand the language we speak. Here in America, that's English.
Yeah, and not only that, but even highly skilled semi-truck drivers can still get into emergency situations. I don't live in a mountainous area. I live in the state of Florida, so it's quite the opposite of mountainous terrain. But I've been up in the Smoky Mountains before. I've been up in the Appalachians. On the interstate highways, they've got those runaway ramps. Like when there's like a steep grade going down, down a decline on the interstate highway, there's usually runoff ramps or off to the right, depending on which direction you're going. And they've got those for a very good reason, because even some of the most skilled semi-truck drivers could find themselves in a situation. Maybe they hit black ice. Maybe it was raining. It could be just a whole bunch of different circumstances, just a perfect storm of just bad luck. And they have to, maneuver their semi-truck into the position where they would have to take that emergency off-ramp, which is, I believe it's just composed of sand. It just essentially just buries the tires in sand. If it's, and I think even if it's traveling like 70, 80 miles an hour, that's what those things are designed for. They're designed to safely stop a semi-truck, because God forbid, if those things aren't there, God knows what would happen. But anyway, yeah, so I'm sure somebody who doesn't understand English, they're probably not aware of those out on our interstate highway system, among many, many other things and safety features and laws and everything else you got to obey while you're driving a semi-truck. All right, so this is from RNC Research. House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries, Timu Obama. He smears ICE as completely and totally out of control and lies that they are not arresting violent criminals. DHS has arrested over 600,000 criminal illegal aliens. 70% have been charged or convicted of a crime.
Well, ICE is completely and totally out of control. Donald Trump,
not to mention, had previously been convicted in their own countries of crimes.
That the administration was going to target violent felons who are here in the country illegally. That's something the American people support. The American people do not support
the targeting, the arrest, the detention, the brutalization of American citizens certainly do not find.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, all right, so hold on. Wait, this is on Morning Joe, and this is the footage that they went with? I mean, like these innocent American peaceful protesters, like literally up in the face of law enforcement, of DHS agents or ICE agents, they're basically the same thing. And I just find that hilarious that these people don't look all that peaceful. I mean, a lot of them got their faces all covered up, wearing sunglasses, trying to keep themselves from being identified because, you know, why would you want yourself not to be identified? Because they plan on obstructing and in some cases assaulting federal agents. And obstruction could be as simple as standing in the middle of the road and trying to prevent from ICE vehicles or any agents' vehicles to pass through just a normal roadway. And if they're standing and blocking, they could get sentenced up to 8 years of prison because it's a federal crime. It is a felony.
Of American citizens certainly do not find acceptable the killing of Renee Nicole Good and the targeting of law-abiding immigrant families and communities. Well, ICE is completely.
All right. Well, there you go. Timu Obama. I'm going to skip over this one because I'm getting really short on time. This episode, it's kind of dragged on, but not in a bad way. It's dragged on perfectly fine. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of stuff happened today. This is the House Democrats. Usually whenever I cover one of these, I usually try to follow it up with either the House Republicans or the Senate Republicans. Yeah, so I just reposted it. There's a direct link to my profile in the description below if you want to have a look at this. I think it's like a half an hour, maybe longer.
Yesterday.
22 minutes in total. Only 2,000 people saw it. Actually, 1,128 views. So it's not like that you're probably going to get a whole lot of, bombshell information, highly dramatic information. It didn't go viral or anything like that. Like, this isn't anything you're probably going to see anywhere, but it is on the House Democrats official profile. So at House Democrats, you can go there and view it too. It was posted at, where's the time? 11 hours ago. That would have been at 10:50 a.m. And we'll roll on to another post from the House Democrats. Donald Trump is bad for America. Costs are up. Costs are up across the board. More than 1 million people were laid off in 2025. And Trump's biggest accomplishments in 2025, the big ugly law, not the beautiful one, the ugly one that pushed millions off of their health care.
In 2025, American families paid $310 more on groceries and $1,625 more overall.
That's called Biden inflation fallout.
2024, thanks to Donald Trump's tariffs. On top of that, more than 1 million people were laid off last.
Oh, yeah. I hate it when they keep using these stupid talking points. Food's more expensive because of Trump's tariffs. Well, no, not exactly, because 85% of all the food and beverages that we consume in America is grown and produced right here in America. If it's produced in America, it's not subject to tariffs.
The most since the 2020 pandemic. And their signature legislative accomplishment, what Republicans tout all the time, was the single largest cut to health care in our nation's history.
Yeah, it's called fraud, waste, and abuse.
All in order to give corporations already making record profits additional.
Yeah, it's called health insurance companies, thanks to fucking Obamacare, dude.
And permanent tax
nice
cuts.
Try. Oh, the tax cuts, the billionaires, the millionaires, and the billionaires. Yeah, just like the health insurance billionaires that Democrats have given God knows how much of our taxpayer money to. All right, so this is from Maria Corina Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize winner. Thank you, Chairman Brian Mast, and all members of the House Foreign Affairs Committee for a very productive meeting. On behalf of the Venezuelan people, I deeply appreciate your bipartisan support for our democratic transition. I thank members of Congress from both parties, as well as Donald Trump and his administration, for their decisive actions to dismantle the regime's criminal structures. The first unequivocal step forward is the release of all political prisoners and an end to repression. A free Venezuela will be the strongest and most strategic ally of the United States in the hemisphere. I mean, it certainly has the potential. I mean, look at Saudi Arabia. I mean, they've become such a financial superpower because of all the oil that they got. And Venezuela's got even more than Saudi Arabia. All right, so she responded to House Foreign Affairs Committee majority, and they say, Chairman Rep. Brian Mast, I was happy to invite Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina to address the members of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. She has demonstrated herself to be a strong, capable, and inspirational leader. Thanks to President Trump, Venezuela inches toward democracy. We are excited to see a peaceful transition of power in Caracas from a terrorist regime to the people of Venezuela. There you go. Good news, man. Good times, good stuff. Very good, very good. Congressman Addison McDowell, I spoke on the House floor in support of the Supporting Pregnant and Parenting Women and Families Act and the Pregnant Students' Rights Act. These are common sense, pro-life, pro-family bills that stand with mothers, students, and families.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of two common sense, pro-family bills before the House today. This week, as thousands gather in Washington for the March for Life, we are reminded that being pro-life means standing with mothers, children, and families. The Supporting Pregnant and Parenting Women and Families Act allows states to better partner with pregnancy centers who are providing real help to new mothers taking the journey that is parenthood. These centers are a pillar for nearly 2 million families every year, making it easier to provide and foster a loving bond throughout communities, just like mine in North Carolina. No longer will political discrimination keep compassion at the doorway. No longer will bureaucrats in Washington prevent pregnant mothers from accessing services and assistance from faith-based pregnancy centers, which help their families grow and thrive. Mr. Speaker, we need to be a country that affirms life. In tandem, the Pregnant Students' Rights Act communicates a simple truth to young women. The birth of your child is not an ultimatum of choosing to grow your family or continuing your education. If you're a young woman who gets pregnant and is getting your education, this bill strengthens Title IX protections to make sure your school clearly informs you of your rights and ensures accountability if those rights are violated. For too long, young women have felt isolated, pressured, and unsupported. That's unacceptable and it needs to stop. Mr. Speaker, these bills reflect what the pro-life movement has always stood for: dignity, opportunity, and hope.
Well, in marriage too, dude.
Support the rule and support these families.
That should go without saying. I guess it kind of did, though, didn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, single motherhood should not be encouraged in any way, shape, or form. You know, get married, then have kids. I get it that, you know, we live in different times these days. But anyway, yeah, I mean, having kids will fill your life with more purpose and meaning than anything else that you could possibly find. Certainly infinitely more than material wealth. I mean, I can speak from experience. I mean, having kids will absolutely change your life in all the best ways. Yes, you'll get a lot less sleep, and day to day, it'll be stressful at times, especially if your baby's colicky. And look, there's a whole bunch of different things that can make your life day to day stressful. But overall, it will give your life just an infinite amount of purpose compared to anything else that you could ever hope to achieve. Just in my opinion. I mean, you're continuing your actual the continuity of your DNA, of your genetics, of your family. You know, you're passing it along. I mean, how many generations of humanity has there been at this point? Like 7,000 generations, 7,200 generations, and every single generation above you, every single generation before you, they all had kids, which led up to you. And for you to just not have kids, you're essentially just throwing it all away. All of it was pretty much for nothing, which of course, you know, that's what a lot of the progressive leftists want, because they want the depopulation. They only want the elites to be able to carry their genes, their seed into the future beyond their years. All right, so I got another one. It's actually, no, where was it? I thought I had another one. Okay, maybe I don't. I thought I did. Okay, all right, never mind. Scratch that. So, but I do have this one. Another one, as in I thought I had like another video clip to accompany the one we just saw, but that's all right. So this one's from Rep. Bob Latta. The Supporting Pregnant and Parenting Women and Families Act gives states the flexibility to use temporary assistance for needy families, or TANF, funds to support pregnancy centers that protect life and provide real help to moms, dads, and families. Ironically, they're not providing that at Planned Parenthood. You'd think Planned Parenthood, they'd already be offering all that stuff, but no. You'd think they would, given the name Planned Parenthood. All right, so from prenatal education to essential material support, this bill delivers meaningful support for families, and I'm proud to support this legislation led by my colleague, Rep. Fishback. And we got the next topic. House Foreign Affairs Committee Majority, Rep. Brian Mast. We are in an AI arms race with China. Any U.S. advanced AI chip exported to China can and will be used against us and our allies. My bill will keep our advanced AI chips out of the hands of Chinese commies and further boost President Trump's America First agenda.
I want to thank my colleagues who have joined me in supporting this bill at a crucial time for the future of AI and America's national security. I also want to thank the administration and the Department of War for their constructive partnership and assistance with this bill. The amendment, in the nature of a substitute, incorporates technical assistance from the administration that further strengthens the bill by allowing the administration to add more countries to the list of those that would fall under this oversight if it wishes to. When the United States considers selling a C-130 or a fighter jet or an engine that goes on one of those airframes or ordnance that goes on the wing of a jet or the avionics that go in a cockpit or anything that has military use,
it's gotta be
goes
approved,
through a
right?
process known as the foreign military sales process. If we are selling another country anything that could give them an advantage on the battlefield, it requires congressional notification, because accountability to our warfighters means that we need to have more than just nameless bureaucrats and agencies deciding what tools are sold.
You know, unless
Members
we leave
of
everything
Congress need to
behind,
take
like a
the
Bagram airfield.
responsibility and pay attention. This bill creates the same congressional oversight for advanced AI chips that are being requested for sale to China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba. Why? Because AI chips are used by our enemies' militaries just as much as they are used by our military. Secretary of War.
Well, plus they want to reverse engineer them so they could try to develop them, copy it, reproduce them, start manufacturing, mass producing them for their own.
Just this month, released their AI acceleration strategy that stated
I know China does that all the
AI-enabled
time.
warfare and
Intellectual
AI-enabled
property theft.
capability development will redefine the character of military affairs over the next decade. If we were just talking about war games on Xbox, then Jensen Huang can sell as many chips as he wants to anybody that he wants.
Well,
And I should
Xbox
have
ain't AI.
absolutely no business
Not yet.
having a say about whether he wants to do that. But this is not about kids playing Halo on their television.
No, dude, Call of Duty.
This is about the future of military
I've never
warfare.
played either.
It is
I don't
not
play video games.
game warfare. It is real strategy. It is real data crunching. It is a real-time decision making. Everything from a drone strike to a nuke. It is real weapons systems, real warfare. And you can ask the Russians and the Ukrainians if it's real casualties.
Yeah,
That's
it's the
why these
250,000,
advanced
right?
chips need to fall under the same oversight as
Horrible.
any other military-related system. That's why this bill is coming before us today, because companies like NVIDIA are requesting to sell millions of advanced AI chips, which are the cutting edge of warfare.
Oh, come on,
to
NVIDIA. I thought
Chinese
you were
military
pro-America.
companies like Alibaba and Tencent. The same companies
Dude,
that
if
work to
anybody's got enough
spy
money, it's
against the
NVIDIA.
United States of America. Companies that the Chinese commies used to try and defeat the United States of America. This bill is very simple. It keeps America's advanced AI chips out of the hands of Chinese commie spies.
But see, I thought this was already in play. I thought we already had laws on the books for this, that China's not allowed to purchase any, not only AI chips, but they're not allowed to purchase any advanced chips that were developed within the last 3 generations, that they're only allowed to obtain chips, American-made chips that are it's something like 5 years old or 6 years old, or like a legacy technology that's several years aged at that point. I thought we already had a law like that on the book.
BIS wisely just released
Maybe it's just
a
not refined
rule that
enough.
says,
Maybe
among
not
other
refined
things,
enough to include AI.
Advanced
Maybe that's
AI
the
chip
issue.
sales cannot go to Chinese military end users. And the sale of these chips to foreign countries cannot reduce the amount that are available to American companies. We agree on that goal, and it's Congress's responsibility to make sure that we reach that goal. That is what we want. We agreed on the end goal. We want to make sure that we get to that point. I give credit where credit is due. I give credit for America's AI dominance to 2 very specific places. Number 1, the great American companies that build chips, that left Chinese companies like Huawei in the dust. It makes me proud to be an American. American ingenuity is driving this. Well done, NVIDIA. Well done, Jensen
Amen.
Huang and others that were a
Absolutely.
part of creating this great tech. You deserve all the credit in the world for that. I also give credit for our advancement beyond China to this. President Trump putting the right checks in place to make sure that America is not doing stupid things, to make sure we're not selling the tools that make the, the most
Democrats would
advanced
allow
AI
all that
chips
to happen.
China.
No doubt
That
in my
was
mind.
done previously. Or to make sure that the United States of America is not selling the most advanced chip right now, the Blackwell, to China, or future most advanced chips like the Rubin. But it can't just be the chip that's labeled number one that we are paying attention to. 1 year ago today, DeepSeek, which absolutely works with the Chinese military, launched its model. That should be considered a Sputnik moment. That was a wake-up call to America and the world that China, even using America's second best or third best chips, even using those, that they were good enough for China to compete with America's best
problems.
AI models.
Yeah, right.
We all agree, I believe that we all agree that we are in an AI arms race. So why wouldn't we want to know what the AI arms dealers want to sell to our adversaries? In that, I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting this bill.
Dude, am I the only one out there who thinks that this whole like the how Hollywood tends to want to paint a picture of what our future looks like, what they have in store for us, but like using Skynet as an example, Terminator 2, it feels like we're just going to wake up the next day and like full-on nuclear war is happening. It's completely out of our hands. The AI locked us all out of it overnight. It happened almost instantaneously with how fast all this is happening. You know, once quantum computing, once they start integrating quantum computing in with AI, maybe that's when it's going to happen. I don't know if it'll be like a sentient or anything like that. I don't know. It's a little crazy, man. And perhaps what he's talking about, maybe what they're wanting to get at is that we don't sell any AI chips to China moving forward. Maybe not just the second or third generation previous to our most advanced, because I'm pretty sure, like what he said, the Blackwell and the other one that he mentioned, I don't think that they could be sold to China anyway. I'm pretty sure that there's federal laws on the books that prevent the sale of our most advanced AI chips to China or our other adversaries. Okay, so Under Secretary of State Jacob S. Hellberg, there's been a lot of debate on the economic impact of AI. Andre Barbie and I co-authored a report released by the White House Council of Economic Advisors on AI and the Great Divergence. Here's what we found. AI is the biggest productivity shock since electricity. Capital and compute now matter more than cheap labor. Countries that build AI win. Countries that regulate it lose. And like I've said before, if Democrats retain control of everything, that's absolutely what they're going to do with AI. They're going to regulate the shit out of it. All right. And President Trump unleashed AI dominance through deregulation, the AI action plan, and the One Big Beautiful Bill, slashing taxes, fast-tracking data centers, and securing trillions in foreign investment. The result? America towers the world in AI investment, $470 billion versus the EU's only $50 billion. Compute capacity and adoption. AI investment alone added 1.3% to U.S. GDP annualized in 2025 before productivity gains even showed up. That's industrial revolution scale. Look, I'd like to know, what about China? How much have they invested? EU's got $50 billion. Is China competing with our $470 billion? They might be. If the 2000s were all about economic convergence and catch-up growth, the 2020s are shaping up to be about AI growth and economic divergence between AI economics and the rest. Nations with energy, capital markets, and permissive innovation pull away. Europe stagnates. The U.S. accelerates. Pax Silica allies are already growing 2.5% versus G7's 1.1%, reshaping global wealth. The data is clear. Well, look, I mean, I don't know if that's going to, reshape the wealth of America in general. It certainly will, like the top, like 0.0001% of those who are innovating it, who are, using AI directly to, further whatever company that they have and so on. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe AI is going to give everybody a massive raise. That would certainly be nice. Maybe then we could afford housing. All right, so artificial intelligence and the Great Divergence, the Council of Economic Advisors. I'll say, here's the full report. It's on whitehouse.gov, and I will link it. Of course, I'm not going to be able to read all this. It's 27 pages in total, but it does, it's a downloadable file, so you can click download right up there. And again, it's on whitehouse.gov if you want to take a look at it in further detail. And we got this from Tom Emmer. Just passed Rep. Pete Starber's HJ Res 140. Make northern Minnesota mining great again. We can't beat China by relying on them. Rep. Pete Starber's bill will reverse Biden's politically motivated stunt to ban mining in northern Minnesota. strengthening our mineral security and bringing back thousands of good-paying jobs. It's a win for Minnesota and the USA.
What the heck do I do, Pete?
Just say who you are and that I'm the best. And
That's actually where I was headed. Hi, I'm Tom Emmer. I'm the House Majority Whip. That's the number 3 position in the U.S. House of Representatives. And I am a proud Minnesotan. And I'm standing next to one of my great friends, a great Minnesotan, Pete Stauber from the famed Iron Range in Minnesota. Pete?
Great to be with you, Tom. I am Congressman Pete Stauber, representing Minnesota's northeastern part of Minnesota, the Iron Range, and today
the
we're
very cold part.
The Congressional Review
Up
Act,
in Duluth,
which reverses
Bridget.
President Biden's mineral withdrawal of 225,504 acres in the heart of mining country, and it was in the Duluth complex, the biggest untapped copper nickel find in the world. And very soon we're going to overturn that bad piece of legislation that's devastating for our country and my constituents.
Dig, baby, dig.
Well, I got to tell you, they've been mining in northern Minnesota for 130 years, and they've been doing it the right way. This is not your grandfather's mine. This is not your father's mine. This is mining in the 21st century, which is safe. It protects the environment, but it gives us access to the critical minerals that we're going to need to move this country forward into the future. And you know what? Thanks to Pete Stauber, we actually have a chance to make the environmental laws work again.
Minnesota is going to continue to lead the world in mining with this piece of legislation.
Well, let's hope so, because that's exactly what we need. Critical minerals, which I already went over, that China's trying to bottleneck that next year. And yeah, we got to get on it, and like now. So anyway, so this is Doge AI. Well, actually, I don't have time to read all of it, but it talks about the Biden-era mining ban in northern Minnesota. It was a textbook example of globalist overreach, locking up the Duluth complex, which holds the world's largest untapped copper-nickel deposit, while forcing America to beg China for critical minerals. HJ Resolution 140 isn't just about reversing that sabotage. It's about reclaiming energy independence and reviving a region crushed by DC elitism. All right, and rolling on to the next House Committee on Natural Resources. HJ Resolution 140 is a win for America. We shouldn't outsource mining to countries that utilize child slave labor and other exploitative practices. The U.S. produces minerals cleaner, safer, and more responsibly than anywhere in the world. Let's mine in America with American workers. It's better in our backyard. That it is.
In the state of Minnesota, we have a saying,
right, you are, Pete.
It's better in our backyard. It's better in our backyard. You're not going to use child slave labor over in the Congo. 1/3 of the cobalt, the world's cobalt, comes from child slave labor, forced slave labor. We have 88% of the reserves right in that complex. And by the way,
88%.
This Congressional Review Act doesn't approve or disapprove any mining. It reverses the mining ban, the dangerous mining ban that the Biden administration put forward under Secretary Haaland, who, by the way, Mr. Zinke said she couldn't name one critical mineral in the mine. Yet it's the biggest untapped copper nickel find in the world. We will not rely on China or other adversarial nations. We can do it. This can be a win-win-win.
Yeah, right here in America,
knows
man.
How to mine? It's the Minnesota miner. It's better in our backyard than China, Russia, or other adversarial nations. Minnesota's been mining for 145 years. We know how to do it. It's better, Mr. Speaker, it's better in our backyard, where our environmental and our labor standards are met or exceeded, and our state permitting is met or exceeded.
All right. Well, I'll put my ignorance out on full display. I didn't even know that they even mined in Minnesota. I just thought they had 10,000 lakes and extremely cold winters. And not only have they been mining, they've been doing so for 145 years. I had no clue. All right, House Committee on Natural Resources. Looks like we got another one. The Biden administration's dangerous and arbitrary mineral withdrawal in the Superior National Forest locked up 33% of our nation's copper, 95% of our nickel reserves, 88% of our cobalt, 75% of our other platinum group resources, the largest and most concentrated deposit of helium in the country. The choice is between mineral dominance and mineral dependence. The choice is clear. And yeah, I mean, like he raises a good point. So we already heard from him. I'm just gonna give this a repost because this one's a lot more lengthy. I only included it just to read this part because he gave some of the statistics on the different types of minerals. But this will be linked. The link is below in the description, a direct link to my profile, or you can go to Rep. Pete Starber. And let me just take a look. 4:07 or 4:06 p.m. today. So it was just a number of hours ago. That's actually not on Pete Starber's. That's on House Committee on Natural Resources at NAT Resources. If you want to go check out their profile, it's over there. I don't think you need to be logged into the X platform to view content on there. I don't think you do, unless Elon Musk changed the rules. Okay, DOJ, Environment and Natural Resources. Today, the Justice Department is exercising its enforcement discretion to no longer pursue criminal charges under the Clean Air Act based on allegations of tampering with onboard diagnostic devices in motor vehicles. In other words, if you want to change something in your vehicle, you're allowed to do it now because we're supposed to be living in a free country anyway. So the DOJ is committed to sound enforcement principles, efficient use of government resources, and avoiding over-criminalization of federal environmental law. In partnership with the EPA, DOJ will still pursue civil enforcement for these violations when appropriate. And I asked Grok a question. Can you give examples of instances where onboard diagnostic devices are tampered with on motor vehicles? So it looks like he gave me a few. Examples of tampering with onboard diagnostic devices in vehicles include installing defeat devices, like in the Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal, where software bypassed emissions tests, using, quote, delete kits on diesel trucks to remove or disable EGR systems. I almost deleted the EGR out of my car, but I decided to just replace it instead because it was so easy to do. DPF filters or SCR catalysts, often for performance gains. Also chip tuning or ECU reprogramming to alter OBD readings and evade pollution controls. These can lead to higher emissions, but are now less likely to face criminal charges per recent DOJ policy. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like, they'll unlock or they'll try to jailbreak their vehicles to try to unlock the true horsepower potential that vehicles tend to have these days. Because in some cases, the auto manufacturers, they will scale them back. Man, the automaker specifically escapes me. I don't really want to name one, but I believe it's a German automaker. It might have been like BMW, maybe Audi, where they have the highest level of horsepower ability locked up, and you have to pay like an extra $25 a month to be able to gain like an extra 25 horsepower to your vehicles. They're insane. They're absolutely insane. So, but yeah, at least according to the DOJ, if you wanted to tamper around with your vehicle and unlock all of that, you can do so, and they're not going to come after you. I think it's insane. It's absolutely insane. I mean, it's your property. It's your freaking motor vehicle, for crying out loud. It doesn't belong to them. You bought it from them. They don't own it anymore. You do. Okay, so from the U.S. Navy, end of the watch, the Los Angeles-class submarine USS Newport News, SSN 750, makes its way down the Thames River after departing submarine base New London in Groton, Connecticut for the final time on Friday, January 16, 2026, as it heads for decommissioning after nearly 37 years of service in the United States Navy. The Los Angeles-class submarine is the third naval ship to be named for Newport News, Virginia, and the last second flight submarine in the class. And it is being decommissioned after, how long was it? 37 years? Yep, 37 years. So there you go. And from the National Guard stands ready at home and abroad to defend the nation, protect communities, and strengthen partnerships while supporting state and federal missions as America's enduring dual status force.
Teammates, we have one job. We will sustain peace for our nation by delivering deterrence through overwhelming strength. And if called upon, we will fight and win our nation's wars.
Hell yeah, they'll fight and win, the National Guard.
Teammates,
like I said yesterday, man, I like playing those clips from the military. Whenever I come across them, I'll include them. All right, so U.S. Southern Command, the U.S. Marine Corps Marines with 22nd MEU conduct a demolition range at Camp Santiago, Puerto Rico, December 20th, 2025. The U.S. military forces are deployed to the Southcom area of responsibility in support of Operation Southern Spear, and the Department of War directed operations and the President's priority to protect the homeland. Operation Southern Spear is primarily Venezuela, by the way. The narco-terrorism vessels. you go. Yeah, man, they got a lot more guts than I do. I don't know if I want to be handling explosives with my bare hands. Okay, so Secretary Kristi Noem, we are anticipating a major winter weather event expected to impact much of the U.S. population this weekend, especially the Midwest and East Coast. Well, I think it's like the southern portion of the Midwest. I got a map. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. DHS Gov are working with state and local authorities and the Federal Emergency Management Agency to monitor and prepare for this likely adverse weather. Please prepare and take precautions in the event of power outages, pipe bursts, road closures, airport delays, flight cancellations, and freezing temperatures. Federal Emergency Management is positioning to effectively respond to these conditions and is prepared to provide aid across the affected areas. Stay safe and prepare. The National Weather Service is sharing key messages on potential impacts. Stay informed, review your local forecast, and ensure your household has at least 3 days of food, water, and essential medications. Readiness resources at ReadyGov, which is the X profile, which you can check that out at ReadyGov, of course. And yeah, so there you have it. So we got a big ass winter storm heading into the area. Here's the map. And, you know, it's obviously it's not going to affect my area. I think the weekend where I live, it's going to be like damn near 80 degrees all weekend. So that's kind of nice. Although, you know, it kind of sucks for everybody else to have to be dealing with the winter weather. However, during the summer months and the fall months, you know, I got to deal with hurricane season. And at least in 2024, I was like right in the thick of it with Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. But yeah, so significant winter storm, heavy snow, dangerous ice, forecast uncertainty. This isn't snowfall accumulations on this map. This is just a percentage chance of at least moderate snow and ice impacts. So if you're in the red, you're going to get a lot of snow, I would assume, through this band and like down in the southern portion where the strip of red is. I'm assuming that's going to be ice. Yeah. So here you go, like this map down here on the bottom with the blue and the red. The blue and snow and the red and freezing rain. Of course, freezing rain creates ice storm conditions. So, I mean, if you live in the southeast, just like Secretary Kristi Noem said, make sure you got 3 days of food and water. Make sure that you hunker down. You know, it might get rough out there. So guidance for the major winter storm shifted north a little overnight, further expanding the area's forecast to be impacted Friday through this weekend. Here are the latest key messages. And I will give that a repost because I can't read that word for word. Well, I can. It's just a little time consuming. I'm over 2 hours. I'm well over 2 hours. All right. So this is from FEMA with, okay. So I already read that. Never mind. I already read that. Okay. So I got this one from NASA. This is the last one. NASA's Freedom 250 commemorative patch has officially launched. Honoring America's 250th anniversary, the Artemis II crew will wear this patch during their historic launch. Oh crap, I accidentally hit the pause button at some point. Okay, so anyway, this is it. The astronauts, rocket's red glare on their patches, and that's gonna do it for this episode. Oh, by the way, they're gonna be launching as early as February the 6th, and they're taking a trip around the moon. And this dude's Canadian, and then they've got the American patches. Of course, the American patches are bigger than the Canadian patches. So, all right, so anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like on your way out and consider subscribing to the channel. It'll mean a lot to me if you subscribe. And I will drop another episode tomorrow on Thursday covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians and bureaucrats and the agencies. Also, I post daily on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.